for Dimbleby, not coming from a long line in illustrious broadcasters, but I remember there's a panorama where he's sitting at the desk and the phone, and it was when they had a phone on, and it's the olden days where I am from. And oh, hello, I'm Toby, by the way, and this is Excess Malarkey Live. And yes, I was sitting there it's always live. We never do. Those of you that have been to the comedy club itself will have noticed that all the acts are there in the present, and none of them are pre-recorded. But there was an episode of Panorama, yes, when David Dimbleby was there, and he's on the phone to whoever's in the gallery, and he says, "So we haven't got any of our film segments or any of our VT." He sort of says, "What am I supposed to tell the Panorama viewers at home?" And somebody obviously goes, "Anything you like." And he sort of puts the phone down and then just sits there, which I suppose is sort of professional, but I think nature abhors a vacuum, and I think, it's easy to do it with hindsight, but I think Mr. Dimbleby should have said something like, "I was born on the 17th of August, 1939, or whatever," and I said, but he just sort of sat there. But what do I know? He then had a broadcasting career that ran well into his late 70s, early 80s, and is hugely respected. And I'm in a room with a sewing machine and a polystyrene head with a hat on it. So anyway, hello, I'm Toby Hadoke. Welcome to Excess Malarkey. If you've never been to Excess Malarkey before and you're tuning in for one of the fantastic and famous comedians that we are bringing you this evening, we are a comedy club that puts on a show every Tuesday in Manchester. Unfortunately, in Manchester at the moment, there is a thing called the coronavirus, which means that nobody from Manchester can go outside. So Excess Malarkey is still a proud edifice on the landscape of Manchester, but unfortunately we're not allowed in it. Excess Malarkey is not actually a building; it's just an idea. It's also in a building called the Breadshed, which is a pub. Is it the Breadshed? No, yeah, it's next to it's called the Breadshed. It's part of two pubs. It doesn't matter. And so we have been here. Well, we've been in Manchester every Tuesday, barring accidents and Christmases, for 23 years, and won several awards for being best club and having most stuttery compere. and that's me. I'm the compere, and I've been there since the beginning. And what happened when Manchester was stricken by this plague was that the team who do all the proper hard work at Excess, Roz and John and Joe and people like that, who help run it, they know how computers work. So they had a chat with all the computers and said, "Why don't we do a show?" I don't even know where I'm supposed to look. I'm just looking straight forward. I hope you can see the whites of my eyes. Hello. This is the first time I've ever had a handlebar moustache, by the way. I hope you like it, but you've got nothing to compare it to. But I would like to suggest a handlebar moustache and a pocket square is not the commonest of combos. It's like Noel Coward is playing a potentially rapey garage mechanic from Texas. That's just the outfit. No, that's the look and the outfit. It's the combo. It's not the voice. He'd say y'all a lot. So what am I talking about? I don't know. This is the beginning. You haven't paid for this. What happened was the music ended a bit quickly, I was told. So I was told to vamp. And I don't think the internet's ready for that. So what I did was I blathered instead, which was what I excelled at in year 2 of drama school. It's on my Spotlight CV. So yes, hello. This is Excess Malarkey. Welcome. What happens is I get up at the beginning and talk to people, and it's pin sharp precision. I bring the audience to the point where they lose the will to live. And then I bring on somebody that's actually thought about what they're going to do this evening. The night is saved, and the relief combined with the talent of the act in question combines to make a fantastic and fiscally sound evening. Oh, talking of which, because we have a thing in Manchester called money, what we do is we charge people as that's Bernard the dog's just come in. We charge people as little as possible. I've got to shut the door. You can tell it's live. Ros is getting very excited. I can see Ros. You probably can't. We have a thing in Manchester called a Ros. She's a lady who's in charge. She's desperate to see Bernard. In fact, I think it's the only reason I'm still alive. And God, someone's got a pop shield.
Show them
Sorry.
Bernard. Show them Bernard. Show them Bernard.
I will try and show them Bernard. Yes, but I was just about to do the thing I've been told to do by one of our lovely audience members, Andrew, who said he didn't think I pushed hard enough for the money because he said to remind people that they haven't had to make a journey, so no bus fare or travel. They haven't had to buy drinks because we can't serve you drinks on the internet. Drinks are a thing we have in Manchester that we provide alongside comedy. And so with all that in mind, if you are watching this evening, the only way that the acts who would normally be paid to perform and can't get paid over the course of this ague is if you kindly donate. If everyone kindly donates a little bit, it gets divided amongst the acts, and they won't have to start eating each other, which would be nice. So that's me doing the hard sell. Was that all right? I'm so sorry. I feel so dirty and awful doing it, but I also don't want anyone to die of starvation. And also, there's a principle involved. It's an exchange of goods. We're providing the goods. You exchange you know what money is and how it works, right? Although, strictly speaking, 65% of you, judging by last week's figures, don't. That's all I'm saying. Now, right. So, was that a hard sell? Was that a hard? I know it's awful, isn't it? But it's true, isn't it? Yeah. You can't handle the truth. Well, Ros was handling the truth there, and also she's drinking. You can't see. I'm sure you can't see her, but I've got a strip of people above me on my thing. They're not stripping people. It's Bernard again. Hello, Bernard. This is Bernard's bringing me. Bernard has brought me a packet of Monster Munch. Look at this, Bernard. Look at that. Bernard's brought me a packet of Monster Munch. Thanks, Bernard. Can I have them? Are they not for me? Oh, mate. So that's Bernard. He's the unsung hero. No, he's not letting me have the Monster Munch. Bugger. It's because I haven't got anything to give him. He gives me presents, but there's a price. Oh, Bernard there illustrating the whole thing about if somebody provides you with something, you have to give them something in return. Bernard was doing the hard sell better than me. He's not giving me the Monster Munch until I give him a treat. We have Tom Allen on later, but not until you get it. God, I feel dirty, and yet I'm kind of enjoying it. I'm bathing in the filth. I'm going to be bloody Richard Branson by the time this is over. Right. So I've probably killed enough time and your will to live. Thank you very much. Yeah, Ros is trying to kill herself by drinking Diet Coke and red wine combined. Whoa. Yeah, it's anyway. So all right, Bernard. So thank you for joining Excess Malarkey. We have 5 marvellous acts on this evening. What I do at the beginning of every show is I divide the audience in half from left to right. And Jonathan, who's a key member of the audience, I am sure he's watching tonight. Richard and Jonathan are very valued audience members who've been great supports over the years. And Jonathan always sits in exactly the same place and chooses the names of the teams to the left and to the right. And I was making those up. And Jonathan got wind of this, and he has been creating his own team names as he would were we all in the room together. Because again, we've got things in Manchester called iPhones, and people can send you messages. So Joe has sent me a message via Jonathan because and this week's teams are on the left. We have the monsters. That's quite a generic term. He hasn't specified what kind of monster. What's going on there, Jonathan? And on the right, we have cryptids. Now, I didn't know what a cryptid was. I mean, I confess I will show my working. And it's an animal whose existence or survival is disputed or unsubstantiated, like the Yeti or Bigfoot or any of those other potentially mythical beasts. So your actual monsters are there. You could choose your own monsters. They could be monsters in human form. And the cryptids are here. which is just a rumour of a monster. So decide which one you are, because you've got to decide if you're left or right. And I'm hoping that you'll be clapping from home. I think you can even type clap. I think some enterprising folk have been doing this because you're all on the Twitch, which is a thing we have here on Manchester, which is like the television, but it's in your house and you can speak to it. So please do that if it makes you feel included. And you can heckle me via that. I think we have Hannah will send you heckles, not heckles. I don't like. Don't be mean. But if you have questions or something, to give me something to talk about, because as you can see, I easily get lost for words. And we can have a bit of interaction like that. Keep it real, people. So we are now going to go to so you've split you into teams, monsters, cryptids. What we'll do is I'll get a round of applause for each of you, and we'll get a round of applause for our first act. All the acts tonight, we're really grateful to them. I've not had a chance to speak to any of them because they're just squares at the top of my computer screen. So hello, the acts. Thank you for doing this. And welcome, audience. And please, can we have a round of applause from the monsters, please? Yay! Oh, very good. You look like a badly dressed version of a celebrity. And now, because that was audience interaction. And now, where are you from? What an awful place. And now, can we have a round of applause from the cryptids, please? Well, I thought I heard that, but I wasn't sure if it was true or not. Cryptid joke. And now we're going to join together monsters and cryptids together. And I'm sure that Venn diagram does cross in places. To welcome on stage an act who did Excess Malarkey, has done it in the last 6 months or so. And that was the second time she'd come, at least. And she was absolutely brilliant. We absolutely love her. So it's we're very grateful to her for starting the show tonight, which she's going to do in style. Monsters, cryptids, come together, and please give a big Excess Malarkey Tuesday night welcome to Alison Spittle! Yay!
Very happy to be here. Oh, I'm unmuted now. Beautiful. Hello, everybody. I'm very, very happy to be here. It is the most nervous I've ever been in my bedroom before, so it's quite a new experience for me. That sounds. I don't know what that was supposed to be. Let's get into this. I find it very hard. You may be looking at the outfit and go, "What's the special occasion?" I went to the shops today, and I've nothing in my life anymore, so I thought I'd wear a headpiece. But I want to talk to you about the internet and how I feel using the internet. The internet for me is a litmus test of how mentally ill I am, especially that litmus test being YouTube. YouTube is the dark mirror that I actually see myself in, and that's with the algorithms. Um, and I know this because I know I can track how mentally unwell I am by how much YouTube recommends chip shop fights. Because that is my secret love. I love watching chip shop fights online. I really do. I love it so much. I love it so much. I put it into categories. It is like pornography for me. I get very niche, very niche. Like there's McDonald's ones are my favorite. They're my favorite because they're the everyman of all the fights. They're beautiful. Burger King ones are all right. They're mostly happen in airports though, so it's not quite as fun. Security get involved very quickly. But I want to talk to you about a fight that I got into because I've gotten into a few fights in my life. Um, Not my favorite one. The one that I find kind of the most funny was with my childhood enemy. Now I have to change his name because this is recorded for YouTube. This is the hard thing because most of the time, why I got into stand-up comedy was to defame people to 50 people or more very quietly. Do you know what I mean? That's what I've been doing for nearly all of my adult life is calling out people in very small rooms. So this guy, he's my childhood enemy. If anyone's ever had a childhood enemy before, I'll describe it for you. It's the type of person that you would whisper prick underneath your breath when you pass him in the street, but you accepted his Facebook friend request 5 years ago because you don't want to be seen as fully aggressive. And this guy, I'm gonna call him Toby. Let's call him Toby because my lovely Toby is there. I can see him. So Toby and I have been enemies for a long time, and he used to call me fat when I was younger, and that was our big beef between us. And the way I would try and get revenge on him was I would play The Sims. Now, I love playing The Sims. I've recently, once again, litmus test. As soon as the pandemic came, I downloaded The Sims very hard, and I've made myself. I'm that depressed that that I haven't even tiled my house yet. That's how lazy I am with my Sims house. But I used to make up this guy Toby on The Sims, and I made his life perfectly like it. So I make the semi-detached house that he lived in. His two parents, his four brothers and sisters, ranging from the ages of 5 to 18. And I would make it very similar. The only change I would make in the house is that I would give him a very large swimming pool, and I would make him begin to love his family. I would let him get a job, and then one day, maybe 4 or 3 months into it, I would get all of his family to go into the swimming pool. I wouldn't let him go into the swimming pool. Um, I wouldn't let him go into the swimming pool. I'd make him watch, and then I would take away the ladder. Now, if you've played The Sims before, you know it would take about 20 minutes for a family of six to die of drowning in the swimming pool. But I wouldn't know because I'd fast forward for that because I'm not a psychopath. So it's perfect. But me and him used to get in fights all the time. And I remember one time I was drinking cans on a street with my friend, and he asked me for a can. And I told him to F off in the nicest way possible. And he, what happened was he punched me in the face, right? Now, I've never been punched hard enough that I got knocked out. But what happened was that I got knocked out, and I woke up on the floor in this street in my hometown, and an old man was standing over me with like a flat cap and a shillelagh. It was the most Irish drunken fight you've ever seen in your life. And he kind of poked me my face. He opened my eyes with his little shillelagh, and he looked at me, this old man, and he said, "I've after seeing everything, and the cowardly bastard is hidden behind the Protestant church," right? So I got up, and the old man, there's no medical facilities in my hometown, but there is a Burger King. So he brought me to the Burger King. That was the second best medical facility there. And he brought me in, and it was a Saturday night. It was really late, and I came in and I was holding my face, and all these. I love chip shop bouncers. They're my favorite type of people because they've seen it all. But my they looked at me and they were like, "Jesus, are you okay?" And I was holding my face and I was like, "I'm after getting punched in the face by the local bastard." And they were like, "Jesus, come in, come in." So they brought me in, and they sat me down. And they was like, "Do you need anything? Do you need any ice for your face?" And I realized at that point that I'd never had that many people looking after me and being nice to me, and I felt really touched by their kindness. So I was like, "Yeah, yeah, can I have some ice for my face? And could I also get a Whopper burger meal, please?" Right? And they gave it to me for free. I was delighted. I had a Whopper burger meal and an onion rings, and I was sitting there like a little celebrity eating my meal. And people kept coming up to me. The pubs were emptying, and there was these older men. I was about 15 at the time, and these older men came up to me. They're like, "What kind of bastard would punch a 15-year-old girl in the face?" Right? And I, at that time, had a choice to make. I could tell them the truth, or I could not have any trouble. But to be honest with you, I was just full up on onion rings and power. And I said, "It's Toby, and he's hidden behind the Protestant church." So they all went into the funniest thing for me, or I felt like Helen of Troy. I really did, because I felt like all these men were going to go fight for me. And these were 8 men who were trying to fit themselves in a Nissan Micra going up and down the town looking for this guy. And I honestly, I've never been treated this well in my life. And the thing is, right, I I told that story on Irish radio once, and I didn't change the guy's name. I forgot, and I got a Facebook message from Toby's mum 2 days later, and she said to me, "Alison, I don't know who you think you are, but my son, you've after libeling him very badly. My son would never, ever hide behind a Protestant church." And I was like, "That's a great mum." So that's my weird. You see, the problem in my stand up as well, it's like it's very violent. I'm quite a happy person, and I'm like, it's strange doing stand up when you don't hear people laugh, because it does just feel like I'm retelling a trauma, which is what stand up is. It genuinely is. I feel like Leslie Grantham. So I'm just staring into a webcam. Do you know Leslie Grantham, Toby? Yeah. Would this jog your memory later?
I've interviewed Leslie Grantham.
What? When?
Uh,
I'm finished now. I'm finished. Yeah, we're done. We're done. I want to hear about this.
For a documentary for the Resurrection of the Daleks DVD, but where I interviewed several of the cast, including Leslie, whose first television, I think pretty much his first television was a Doctor Who story called Resurrection of the Daleks. Yeah.
Resurrection of the Daleks. Beautiful. Okay. How was he?
He was fine. He was touring Dad's Army, the stage show, having just left EastEnders because he sullied his triumphant return by the webcam naughtiness. And I used to do a joke that nobody ever used, and I felt really bad because I subsequently, because of course I met him, but I used to do a joke at that time saying, Leslie Grantham has been, got rid of by EastEnders because he called his co-stars rude names on a webcam. Give the guy a break. It's not like he's murdered anybody, which of course he had. Did you not? Oh, did you not know that?
No, that's amazing.
Leslie Grantham was a soldier in the army, and he got into acting when he was in prison because when he was not a subject of comedy. I'm not making light of it, but
I don't know.
I like to educate people about character actors. He got into drama in prison whilst he was serving a sentence that he served for killing a German taxi driver. And when he came out, he did a Doctor Who, and then not long after that was cast in EastEnders. And then so his first bit of scandal when he was in EastEnders was that was of course revealed quite early on by the tabloids. And sometimes Excess Malarkey is about education about the careers of character actors, not about comedy. That was one of those.
I know. I'm happy about that. That is strange that they were that as the last straw. Like the webcam thing. I think webcams generally before the pandemic are kind of seen as, I don't know. How do you feel about webcams generally?
Well, I'm not very good. I don't, as you can tell, I don't even know where to look.
Yeah.
And I have to say, I mean, this week I am fully clothed, but last week I have to say I was very lazy. I I like to wear a tie and stuff to perform, but my bottom, I had pajama bottoms, which made me feel like something of a fraud.
Do you know what? It makes me feel like a pervert sometimes. Like I've got a secret.
Because nobody knows quite what's going on elsewhere beyond what
exactly.
And I don't know about it, but because when I was choosing where, I didn't choose the room, but this room, this is the room in the house that has all the pile of boxes that have not been emptied yet, but they've all just been squished just round the corner, so out of view of the camera. So it looks relatively okay here, but it's chaos beyond. But
I think it looks great. I think it looks lovely.
Well, my other half came in and moved everything because she didn't want the chaos to be transmitted to the nation.
No, it is. You don't want a chaos pandemic.
Now, you raised an interesting point, Alison, during your bit, which was some of the acts have we've juggled this. We've had the offer to say, do they want me and Roz and various other people? Do you want our mic switched on so that when we guffaw, you can hear it?
I enjoyed that.
Some of the acts said yes, and some of the acts said no, and I think it was also sometimes difficult for the audience at home because a laugh might eat away at a punchline or a topper. How did you feel about performing sort of to a screen?
I felt very nervous about this, and I started doing all this crap in the back where I'm putting lights up everywhere, and I felt like that was a way of preparing. And also, it made me kind of think about stand-up comedy. I miss it so much, but I don't know. Like, I miss the live aspect of it, and also, it's making me. I was looking at my bits, and I was like, oh, my bits are like either very long, or you're just looking at yourself and you're reassessing it. It's like looking at your canned food. Before, it's just canned food, and now it's like, is this practical? Is this usable? Do I really need to have, this much tomato puree? A lot of tomato puree. So
it used to be canned food. Now it's July. We've
Yeah, so
we've got some herbal teas that I think would probably never have got drunk, but now I might well know what nettle and lavender tastes like because I might get that far.
I full on. Do you want to have a look at my balcony? I brushed it today.
Yes,
Like I
please.
made it all clean. Yeah. Okay. Cool. Good. And actually, can I show you my basil? Okay. So I might as well just show you. So over here, I've got little plants and stuff, and I bought supermarket basil, and it's always died on me. But I've made a massive effort to like look after it and water it, and it's I've got an abundance now of
Oh, very
basil.
good. We watched a
But
video about growing basil yesterday, and it was
me
something that
too.
yeah.
That's my life now. um, but over here, look at this. Look how clean this is. That's
Oh,
no, isn't that? I'm just so proud of it.
sweeping.
Look at this is my drying area chair. There's crazy golf over there. I bought some crazy golf clubs. I'm gonna play that one day, Toby.
But
I'm very excited.
that's sadly not necessary travel, is it? The crazy.
Oh shit!
Oh,
Oh
you okay?
sorry. Yeah, I thought I broke my projector. No, it's fine. I was like, it was not worth showing you the balcony from my projector. Definitely not. But
No, the cost whatever benefit is not would
yeah,
not be worth it for the projector. I'm very admiring of your tiara. Is it a
tiara. Oh, thank you.
tiara?
Yeah, yeah. It was some sort of like I got some fake flowers and I hot glued it. Well, my boyfriend did it actually. Trying to get into crafting, trying to do anything apart from exercise to let kind of alleviate my mental health.
Yeah, we're
People say
gonna.
running is a good idea, and I just don't believe them secretly.
I do believe them, but I just depresses the very thought of it depresses me, and
I know.
I see all sorts of people that I thought I knew better being all exercising. I was going, oh, and it makes you feel bad then because I feel like because I like to. It's like when you went into school and if somebody else hadn't done their homework, you went, oh, it's okay.
Yeah.
I'm not the only one that's going to be into trouble. But when everyone had done it, and I feel like that about exercising, everyone now is going, oh, I've only done 50 kettlebell swings this morning. I go, look, you're a jester. You shouldn't be doing that. You should be picking your teeth out of your tears. That's what you should be doing, not running. But so
Yeah.
I'm glad you're not running because I'm not either. Now, tell me about your comedy. How long have you
Oh,
been doing it? How long have you been doing it?
I've been doing it about like 9 years. Um, Coming up to August. Yeah, and I don't know. I've I've been thinking. I was trying to prepare a show for Edinburgh this year, and yeah, just before, and I first time I ever tried to use a director and stuff. So it's a
Uh,
bit of a yeah, a bit of a weird one. I'm such a I I'm such a goose when it comes to comedy. I feel for about 5 or 6 years I kept going, oh, if I prepare and put effort into it, it doesn't mean that it's natural. And being natural is not something to aspire to be. Being funny is something that you should be as a comedian. You don't need natural. You know, who's you know who yeah. I don't see it as a thing. I keep looking at the Twitch. I'm so scared of it. There's comments and stuff. And I haven't looked at them, but I'm such a flake. I'm such a like being a stand-up comedian. I love doing stand-up. I love being on stage, and I kind of like it when people heckle me because I can deal with it because I've had experience. But with this, I've no experience of this, and it's so strange.
no,
So you're doing an amazing job being an MC.
when I don't have it
So
switched on, I'd hate that. I naturally, that's the terrible thing about the internet. It used to be that
yeah.
if somebody heckled you, you dealt with it, and that was it. Now you sort of with the internet, you sort of do the equivalent of following them home and listening and waiting for them to say they thought you were shit.
I know you don't want to do that. Oh Christ! Oh
It's
Christ!
horrifying.
So yeah,
So no Edinburgh for you this year because there's no Edinburgh for anybody. So what are you
yeah.
going to do with your show that you were going to do? Will there be life in it?
I think so, but I think I'm gonna change it round. I have to stop doing. I have to do stop doing. I have to. I have to think about my thoughts and why I do stand up better because sometimes I do stand up where I just get revenge on people or I just change. I should stop doing stand up out of spite and just um I don't know. There will be life in it, but I wanted to make it different anyway, so it's kind of good in that way. The longer I don't do stand up for, the less I feel I can remember how to do it. Is that strange? Like I feel the muscle is going. I
Yeah,
feel
but do remember that nobody. It's not like you haven't been doing it and everybody else has been secret. Nobody has been doing it. So
yeah,
you're at least it's not like you've been in a coma for 6 months and everybody else has been headlining the Comedy Store. When we all start again, we'll all have had
yes,
all of our tools will be rusty.
yes, that's true. Oh, that's true. Everybody's having a crap time, and that's what you should remember.
Absolutely. So what do you do if people want to find you online during I've got to think of other words apart from plague, ague, blight. What else are you doing during the blight where people can find you on the internet?
So every night at 9 o'clock, I do a thing called #CoVideoParty on Twitter, where people can vote on a film. You get 4 choices and you vote on it. And tonight we're watching Space Jam, and I dress up as a character from the film, and we all watch it together and we all tweet about it at the same time and just take the piss out of it. So tonight it's Space Jam. Last night was 50 Shades of Grey. I've had like Matilda. It's been good fun. It's been real good fun. And so if you go to the #CoVideoParty or my Twitter or Instagram, and I have a coffee account as well, because we might as well. Oh yeah, why is everyone watching Space Jam? No, you didn't. What happened? So that's for What's Up Doc. Look, I'm looking at it now. I can see. So Space Jam only came on Netflix yesterday because there's a big Michael Jordan documentary and they put a lot of Michael Jordan content onto Netflix. Space Jam is one of the greatest films of all time, so I'm very excited about seeing it again.
I've never seen it,
Oh, you're gonna hate it. You have to watch it when you're 7 years old and you don't know the concept of advertisements. You need to watch it then.
Okay, I'll wait till that comes round again then.
Yes, it's one long horrible advertisement for different products. But when I was a kid, it was incredible. It was the best.
Well, Alison, thank you so much for joining us, and that was marvellous
Yeah.
and great fun. And we'd love to welcome you back to Excess Malarkey when our doors open and our roads and trains are running again. But for now, ladies and gentlemen, please give it up for Alison Spittle. Yay!
Thank you. I want to go see that front row again. You have an amazing front row of people that are regulars.
They're great, aren't they?
I've actually thought of them last week about like what I missed about comedy, and that was like a big gig. So thank you so much to you and Roz and everybody. Really appreciate it, and hope you have a lovely evening.
Oh well, and you, bless you for mentioning our front row, because no comedian could wish. Every Tuesday I do Excess Malarkey, and there's nothing better than getting on stage and knowing that those people there want you to do well and have a good night, and they are a very important part of the gig, which is why we have Jonathan still choosing the teams. So and we have people. I'm going to get the next act on very shortly, but we have thank you Alison. I have been having questions, which is excellent. Hi from Malaga. Now the person in Malaga can see if Ros was speaking Tommy rot when she told me that red wine and Diet Coke was a thing in that there space. Oh, I'm being nodded at. It is a thing. Gosh, it sounds like a noxious brew to me. It reminds me, I was telling Ross just before we started, one of my favourite lines in Only Fools and Horses that is stuck in my mind for years and years, when Rodney is told by Del Boy to order him a drink, and we know Del Boy always orders something a bit terrible sounding, and Rodney has to come up with one, and so he says, pint for Boyce and red wine for Marlene, and Del Boy can have a martini and Lucozade, and it's a wonderful combination, and coupled with Nicholas Lyndhurst's brilliant delivery, is something that's stuck in my mind and still tickles me to this day. Does he just do this all week and we just cut to him at the right time on a Tuesday? Thanks, Gray the Earth thing. I don't know if that's a compliment or not. It's possible. Lots of Monster Munch chat going on, says Hannah. Well, give me the Monster Munch chat. I once did a podcast called Perfect Night In for a wonderful fellow called Neil Perryman, where celebrities, comedians, and some people who are neither, get to choose their perfect night of entertainment, and also get to choose which snack and that there was a debate about Monster Munch and that about which was the best. And I surprised myself by nearly going for the beef, ending up with the hot. But I would have thought initially that it would be the pickled onion, but I find them a bit insipid now, even though they were my Monster Munch of choice when I was younger. So all I'm saying is, if you have a Monster Munch of choice, don't necessarily commit with it wholeheartedly, because you might find that your taste changes over the years. Does Toby's mug say "I heart ham"? It does. There's a story behind that. I'm going to make you wait until I've got to do something in between the acts, because I'm aware that I'm speaking far too much. I'm so sorry, everybody. So the next act is an actor who's played Excess Malarkey and was great, and I would love her to come back. However, she's also been doing something absolutely amazing online that has got loads of traction, and it just goes to show how brilliant the internet can be for exposing us to all sorts of great comic invention. I'm sure Sophie will explain it, so I'm not going to spoil it by explaining it badly. However, if she launches into it without explanation, keep up, people. But I'm sure it'll be fine. I'm sure. Yes, shut up. I will. Good. Okay. Sorry. Right. So, a brilliant act doing a brilliant thing, and we're delighted to welcome her. Please stamp your feet, clap your hands, and please give it up for Sophie Galpin. Yay!
Yeah, it is me in the flesh, Draco Malfoy, as I live and breathe. No, I want to be relatable and inclusive, and Harry Potter is not everyone's cup of tea. So if you're a bit older than that and Harry Potter is a bit too young for you, in which case, hello, it's me, Spike off of Buffy the Vampire Slayer. But even if you're a bit older than that, I've got something for you. I've got something for everyone. If you're older than that, then hello, it's me, either of Bros. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter which one. They're both just Aryan men that I look like. And if you're older than that, I got something for you. Hello, it's me. Please, can you stop voting for things? Because you're ruining everything for everyone. Fucking Tories. Anyway, politics, done. Nailed it. Nailed the politics. All right, no, my actual name, I'm not an Aryan man, is Sophie Galpin. Thank you so much for having me here on this lineup of legends. I feel very lucky to be here. So thanks for that. But I've got you now, like fish in a barrel. So off we go. Let's jump right in. I was a very, very weird child. I was very precocious and needy and emotionally intense. And as you can see from what I'm doing now, I've absolutely grown out of that. But basically off and on between like the ages of 5 or 6 and about 13, I wrote these super intense childhood diaries, and I left really creepy letters around the house for my mum to find. I've been doing this stupid feature on my Instagram and Twitter called On This Day, where basically I pick a diary entry from that day from one of the years, and I read it on the internet to be judged on accordingly. So this is a longer form version of that. And I thought I might set the tone with a classic piece of literature from the Galpin archive. I think I can safely speak for us all when I say we all remember where we were when we first drafted a love contract for our mum to sign. This is dated on the 11th of May, 1998. And at the top, it says contract in massive letters, underlined 3 times, which I believe is tradish for a legally blind. It says, "You are my mum forever, and I will love you forever. Even when you die, I will love you." Do you promise to love me forever and ever, even when you are in heaven? Please sign here. Yours sincerely, Sophie Galpin. Full name to myself. Your daughter, just to really from Sophie Galpin, age 9, to Nikki Galpin, age 46. And then there's a very specific 2-day window saying you can sign this only between the 11th and 13th of May 1998. She did sign it, guys. She loves me loads. It's cool. Like, it's fine. But there's like a lot of strange morbidity in the letters that I left around the house for my mum. There's one, and it says, "To Mum, you are the best mum I could possibly get. When you die, I shall be very sad. I will always remember you. Love from Sophie." What I love about that is it's like, you are the best I could possibly get. Like, I picked her in a shop. When when you die, I shall be very sad, very much implied, like, when you die by my hand tonight. I'll always remember you. It's just so patronizing. Like, it's so patronizing. But that like pales in comparison to another one in terms of being patronizing, which says, to Mum, I'll just leave these around the house. To Mum, I love you a lot. I will never stop loving you. Lots of love, Sophie. P.S. You're a star. Which I just think is so patronizing. Like, I'm from a single parent family, not like Virgin Mary vibes. Like, I do technically have a biological father, but I mean, in terms of family unit, it was me and my mum and my sister. And after my dad left, I'm fine, by the way. My mum never had a boyfriend or anything. She was on her own, and I would feel sorry for her because she didn't have anyone. So one Valentine's Day, I wrote her a Valentine's card and I left it on the doormat as if it was like from a potential suitor. It just said, I love you, love your admirer. But I really gave it away because I addressed it to Mum. So psychoanalyze that, yes. And as well as being single, my mum granddad, who was like quite old and quite needy, and like she didn't have enough to deal with, she came home from seeing him one day and found this note on her bed which just said, to Mum, I know you do not like cleaning granddad's flat, but somebody has to do it because he is very old. Love, Sophie. But the most intense one by far, it had like no preamble whatsoever, just on a tiny bit of paper. It just says, I am never going to leave you, Mum. If I got a note like that on my bed, I'd just torch the house and leave. It's not worth it, is it? So now is a good time to maybe dive into this stack of diaries that I've got here. As you can see, for context, I was really into Dennis the Menace and the Beano, but like way into like, and when I should have sacked it off. And usually there's like detailed documentation of what I ate, loads of extraneous detail about nothing, extensive use of brackets, and then like the occasional bit of social commentary and like existential thoughts that I had. So I will kick off with the 25th of March 2003. Today was all right. I had chemistry, IT, English, and maths and history today. We played a hockey match against the under-13s today, and we won 2-0. Smiley face. Damn good job too. We would never have lived it down if we'd lost. I went to the choir, and I was really tired. Daniel took us today because Edward was playing at a funeral. The Iraqis are torturing their prisoners of war. Bathed, watch TV. Commentary on the war, of course. There's also this inexplicable phase in 2001 where I start using the words cool and dude interchangeably. Like, I was really committed, like trying to make it happen, but I don't know why it never really caught on. So on the 26th of March 2001, it's 2 days before my birthday. I'm so excited, man. I had swimming, brackets, dude. History, brackets, boo. IT, brackets, dude-ish. RS, brackets, boo. Maths, okay. English, brackets, boo. And French, brackets, okay. Lizzie gave me a zebra, brackets, same as hers, who's called Zebediah. And I called it Poppadom, brackets, as in the Indian. I don't know what else it would be referring to, but I felt. And then like sometimes I would have these existential ideas that I'd want to write down. And on the 27th of June 1999, I'd write a load of boring shit about what I did in the day. And then I say, I watched a program about twisters, brackets, tornadoes, not the ice. And it says, I don't understand why people are lesbians. I wouldn't be a girl, brackets, or a boy for that matter. Smash cuts 20 years later. And following on from that, there is an entry from the 20th of April 1999 that just opens with, today I had rehearsals for Puss. A Puss in Boots that I refer to exclusively as Puss. So then it says Blitz stage. I would like to correct, I'm not a badger in the play. I'm a ferret, okay? We keep stopping to modify lines because some don't make sense. When I say we, I mean Mrs. Parker, Miss Bull, and a bit Mrs. Allport. Gym, library, and geography. After school, it was rhythmic gymnastics. Ribbon was my weapon of choice, by the way. I had drama too. During music, I sang "Everybody Needs Mo Puss." Been a song in the show. I don't know. In gym, I was doing throws. In library, I read Ramona. I'm doing a display for the evening of movement and dance in rhythmic gym. I had drama too. We are dancing in Puss. It's Peter Birmingham's birthday today, and I heard the Parsonson's advert, brackets, in bed, because in my diary I was noting down whenever I heard the furniture shop Parsonson's advert, because I thought there was a conspiracy because I only ever heard it at night. So I was noting down for my own records. In terms of more philosophical entries, there's one from the 19th of May in 99. And it says, I had a really boring history lesson, brackets, as always. I've just had a vision. I think some people should make a really, really, really big pole and see if they can bring the sun or moon really close to Earth, or the moon onto Earth. If that doesn't work, build a really heavy spaceship and fly it up to space, and then use the really big pole to hook the moon and bring it down to Earth. Don't hook the sun, because the Earth would burn up and it will be all my fault, because this is my idea. So keeping it socially responsible with my teams at all times. And I kind of revisit this idea about 6 months later in November, and I say, I often wonder things, and now I'm wondering how you can keep a record of all the car number plates in the world so they don't use the same one twice. And how the roof of tunnels without it dripping all over the floor. I don't know. I still think if people want to study the moon really closely, they should make an extremely long pole and an extremely heavy weight and drag it down to Earth. I wonder where the sky stops and space starts, or whether you go through the ozone layer, brackets, a cloud, and come out and you're in space. I don't know. Loads of people irritated me today. That's it. Unrelated. I'm approaching my time of doing this nonsense, so I'm going to leave you with one more. I'll do one more, I think. And then, Toby, you can save me from myself after that. This is the most shameful thing I've ever written that I want to share with you. I don't know if you remember, a couple of years ago, the singer Sia was on holiday, and some horrible paparazzi bastard took some pictures of her when she was sunbathing naked, and then tried to auction to the highest bidder. And what she did, she took the photos and put them on her own Twitter, therefore rendering them useless. She got ahead of it. She owned it. Her body, her choice, she nailed it. That's what I'm doing. I'm having my Sia moment. I'm getting ahead of this because one day I'm going to die through my stuff and see what I've written, and then judge me and think that I've got awful opinions. So I'm going to share this with you, but let's just all bear in mind that when I wrote it, I was 10, and 10-year-olds, they don't know anything because they're stupid, dumb babies. And then it's the end of it. From Wednesday, the 2nd of June, 1999, from my diary. This morning, I was so bored. I did 3 music practices, and at 2 p.m, Mum and I went to the post office, but it was closed. I bought 3 packets of Hubba Bubba bubblegum, brackets, 16p each, at the newsagent. There was a thunderstorm, and we had that much rain, brackets, high, in the front patio. I read my Point horror book and my Beano while Mum was in the co-op. I played football with Liam for a few minutes, but it rained again. Then, in capital letters, it just says, "Go, Conservative Party." Thanks for letting me share this nonsense with you, everyone. On the internet.
Thank you, Sophie Galpin. Yay!
Thank you.
Sophie Galpin. Well, hello. Thank you for doing this. What a marvellous jam jar you're drinking out of.
I know, I'm a hipster dickhead. Look at me.
Do you have your chips in a tin mug as well?
A plank, you know.
Oh, I like it. Yeah. And your cornflakes on a shovel.
Oh yeah.
Well, thank you for doing that. Now, one of the technical, just a piece of technical argy-bargy to get out of the way, we had us all laughing in that, viewers and listeners, and we weren't sure if when somebody laughed loudly, and a lot of times that occurred, whether that then drowned out what Sophie was saying. So do feedback to us on Twitch, and if you have any technical advice, do give it to us. I think everyone's working away. Yes, it does. Okay, well, just pretend that didn't happen. And if you missed any of Sophie's punchlines, apologies for that, and go and see her live or tune into her Insta. So you're doing it on Instagram?
Yeah, I'm doing it every day. Whilst I don't know, for the foreseeable, I've got loads of it. So I'm just doing one from that day every day.
And what was this something that you came up with as a result of this virulent strain? I keep trying to think of new words. This coronavirus.
It kind of happened as a result. I mean, I was like looking through some stuff anyway, and I knew that I had this stuff, and I've kind of looked into it before, but I was like, oh, this would be a nice thing to just like see what I'd written on this day, however many years ago, because mostly it's just like absolute nonsense, and some of it's really like it's also earnest. Like there's not a smattering of irony or like self-awareness at all, which is just like it's just really silly. I'm like mostly quite mundane, but of the time, you know.
Yeah, it's interesting, isn't it? Particularly in light of now, if you express an opinion on Twitter or whatever, you can be leapt upon, or if people say something off the cuff, it sort of gets dissected and people can get into all sorts of trouble. When you look at things that you've written in the past, you sort of go, but I don't think that now. So being judged by it, which is why your last bit is so lovely, because it's essentially going, oh, come on.
Yeah, exactly. And sometimes some of it I remember writing and I remember how I felt at the time, and some of it I don't remember at all. So it's really nice to look back. But I don't know, just like there's loads of really pointless detail. I think because my mum said, like, you'll want to remember this stuff when you're older. And I just took it completely literally. So I'm like, I had turkey dinosaur and carrots and potatoes, brackets, fried. Like, it's ridiculous.
Well, I wonder if that's a trait in us comedians. I kept a diary for a couple of years, not during any of the interesting things I've done, which I was thinking the other day, why didn't I keep a diary when I was doing interesting things? Yeah. But I noticed, and I had to look back on mine, because I put bits of my diary in my one-man show about Doctor Who years ago, because I needed something to sort of break it up, because I felt it was a bit long. So and my diary was largely about Doctor Who stuff, and so I put that in. But it was interesting looking at that I had this weird thing where somebody, friends would write in it at parties or whatever, or people would write it at the last day of school. And I remember doing things like, if somebody had written on one day but the next day, I'd sort of write underneath, George actually wrote that in history class the next day, because I didn't want historians to misinterpret that might have been put on the day that it was written. There's that extraordinary sort of slightly anal sort of, oh no, this has to be correct.
Oh yeah, super had to be correct and on the right day, and like loads of arrows pointing to like the notes section when I'd like spilled over, and I've written my will in the front of one of them, like in case what happens with my stuff if anything happens, because every 10-year-old's obsessed with their affairs in order, like what? I'm like,
and what sort of feedback have you had? Because it's exploded a bit, hasn't it?
Yeah, loads of people have been messaging me just being like, this is the only way I know what day it is. Thank you. And yeah, people are really enjoying it. But I think it's because it's completely unedited and it's completely authentic. And I'm just like, well, this is what I said when I was 9 or 10 or 11. And it's kind of fun, like when people interact and people are following it. So that's nice. It's nice.
But I mean, you left us on that huge cliffhanger, but that huge bombshell moment. Go Conservatives. So how long was that a thing for you, and how did it come to you, and how did you leave it? Shall we say? There's lots to explore there, Sophie.
I didn't know what I was talking about. Now I've got a different opinion. Everyone's opinion is fine. Free speech is wonderful, but just want to make it real clear that I didn't know what I was talking about. Just a dumb baby. Yeah.
Well, listen, I sometimes think, on a Monday morning on the tram, I think they should just actually shoot anybody that makes too much noise. By the afternoon, I've decided that perhaps that's a bit extreme, but I have to confess I have those thoughts sometimes. I don't think it's anything to be ashamed of. It's our brains trying to formulate what we think.
Yeah, but what's weird is that my mum read my diary and sometimes wrote in it.
What, she heckled you?
Well, I don't know. Like sometimes whatever she put in it was like usually it's like quite pass act. So there's one time when my sister's then boyfriend had lent me his PlayStation because I didn't have one, and I was like absolutely buzzing to have his PlayStation. And then I'd written a bit, and I'd been like, I played on the PlayStation, and then Mum's written in it, and she's like, Mum was out in the garden, and Mum thought that it was a really nice day, and Sophie should get some exercise, and Sophie can't have a PlayStation because she would spend too much time on it, and she needs to go outside.
Brilliant.
So subliminally she would get through to me and just really break it gently that I'm not getting a PlayStation.
And what about the live stuff? Because you when you first played Excess, you're doing the live comedy thing as well. So how's that going? And where are you at before this apocalypse descended upon us?
I've been very lazy and not done much at all. I haven't done much generally, actually. I'm pretty new to it in terms of like gigging. But I really enjoy it. Like, I'm a musician as a job, so I'm used to performing, but like doing comedy is like a completely different ball game and completely different beast, which is really exciting to me. And it makes me so stressed, like where music doesn't. Like the panic and the anxiety that I feel like in the run up to doing a stand-up gig is like far surpasses anything I've ever experienced with music. It's really weird, totally different.
What's your instrument?
I play a bunch of them. I play guitar, bass, and drums, and violin, and some keys. All of them.
Goodness me! And
Music.
you're so familiar with them. You call them keys, which I'm assuming is an abbreviation of keyboard. Is it?
Who's got time for 2 syllables? Not me.
I like it. I like it. Well, Sophie, where can they find you online then to hear more of your confessional diary work?
On Instagram and Twitter, it's @SparkenSoph, which is SparkenSoph. You can find me on Instagram and Twitter.
Well, thank you for joining us. I don't know if you're staying. Sometimes the acts stay to the end. There's no pressure so to do because we'll all say goodbye at the end. But it's been lovely to have you in the show so far. We might see you later. And thank you very much. Give a round of applause, everybody, for Sophie Galpin. Yay! Thank you, Sophie. We hope you're enjoying the show, everybody. I will do a bit more comparing. Food is ready in 2. Shall I bring it in when the next act feels like I'm interrupting? Shall I say that? That's a text from my other half. Yes, so we don't need to answer that. So where do I get the text? Hello, everybody. Hope you're having a nice time. Yes, this is where I have to do the hard sell again and say, please do your PayPal thing. Everybody's performing only for your donations, and it just helps. Yeah, and it's it's what we give you something. You give us, we do you a favor, you do us a favor. So, I heart ham. Now, I don't know if this is probably, well, this is going to be my confessional. I have a bit of a thing, and I'm not sure what it is, where it's sort of like a version of Tourette's, but I don't want to claim to have a condition I don't have. But I when I'm at home and I have awkward moments, I have a sort of verbal tick that doesn't seem to occur when I'm working, and I guess it's because I'm working. So nobody's witnessed it on stage, but it's become a bit of a thing in our house because if I get an awkward moment or if I'm trying to kill time because I have verbal diarrhea and all that sort of thing, I say sausages, eggs, and ham. And sometimes I turn it into a song where I go sausages, eggs, and ham, jam, 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 which probably sounds ludicrous because it is. But anyway, it meant that my son, for Christmas and my birthday, got me a series of mugs that say, I love sausages, I love ham, and I love jam. So that's why I have a mug that says, I love ham. It's not a comment on my approach to classical acting, although it would be equally as accurate. So that's the thing. Any doctors out there? What the fuck is that? I don't know. It does my head in. But I'm not going to go and see anybody about it because I've got enough labels. I don't need any more. So everyone's asking about your mug. Yeah, so there we are. It's a mug that my son Oscar got me to rub in the fact that I talk shit like an old git. Rachel on Instagram, Sophie Galpin, hilarious. I wrote in runes in my diary so my mum couldn't read it. Ha! That's superb. That's what you should have done, Sophie. You should have written it in runes. That's superb. Let's crack on. I'm enjoying this. I hope you are. This is Excess Malarkey Online. The best comedians we can possibly bring you for as little as money as we could possibly charge. In fact, we're not charging anything. We're relying on you being being kind. That's the hard sell again. And the next act, I'm delighted to see. I'm anticipating this is going to be slightly different from what we've had so far at Excess Malarkey Live. But I'm not gonna ruin it with any sort of introduction apart from saying this is another marvelous act. And please welcome into your cyberspace. Stamp your feet, clap your hands, and give it up for Joe Sutherland, ladies and gentlemen. Yay!
Oh, hi there. Hi, thanks, Toby. Thanks so much for having me. I'm just, I'm so glad I could squeeze this in, really. I've been absolutely swamped lately, all the work from home, constantly at home, constantly working, bing, bing, bing. Coffee for closers. I'm just kidding. I can't drink coffee because of the anxiety. And quite frankly, if in 2020 you don't have anxiety, are you even really a person? Get with the times. What I wanted to say is, do you know what? I'm actually not going to address the sort of the corona thing too much because I'm gonna put it out there. It's really ruined my year. Yeah, I'm gonna be the one to say it. I know we're all we're pulling together in these amazing ways, and we're sort of trying to keep together, flailing industries and support the key workers. But let's just remember that it also affects individuals. So the way it's affected me is that this year I had a New Year's resolution. I was like, do you know what? I'm going to be a better person, just a much better person. Not like a good person, just sort of better than you. And one of the ways I was doing that, I was like, do you know what? I'm going to be really calm. I'm going to be super calm. I'm going to stop watching the news. Got to cut it out. But then along came the virus. And now I can't stop. Now all I do is watch the news. But, trying to find the positives where I can. I'm in isolation with my boyfriend. Yeah, I know, surprise, he's gay, what a twist. But it's been really lovely to sort of have this time together. It feels like we're kind of back to the beginning of our relationship in a way, because we met the old-fashioned way in prison. We met through a mutual app. And we're just sort of, we're really finding our rhythms again. We're doing nice little things for each other. Like we've both been really missing our daily visit to Pret a Manger. So today, just to recreate the experience, I made a coffee for him and I left it next to the sink and I didn't tell him it was ready. This is the little things. But I'll say it's a shame. It's a shame not to be with you in Manchester. I do love Manchester. It's my favourite city, and I'll tell you why. Because I love that the people of Manchester define their personalities by hating the South. Very much something I'm on board with because I know I have the airs and graces of someone from the South. Thank you, but I was born and raised in the Midlands in a place called Coventry. I don't know if many people know it. It's a city in the Midlands, very famous because we had a big cathedral that was bombed during the Second World War. So we replaced it with 11 branches of Greggs, which, if you don't know, that's a sort of vegan delicatessen. And it's quite a Coventry. It's funny. It's quite a working class city. It's very working class. And I'm not saying that to make out like, oh, get me on dead working class. I mean, come on, this is a dipty candle. If anything, what I'm saying is that I think technically I am middle class, but I identify as class fluid because I grew up in like a really rough part of town, where all the other kids thought I was really posh because I had a PlayStation and a dad. But I mean, not in the same house. I'm not royalty. But I think what I'm really like aware of now, especially sitting in isolation, being like aware of one's privilege and whatnot. I'm just aware of like how how disconnected I guess I feel, from my past. I'm aware that I've come across maybe a bit more southern, a bit more posh than I used to when I was growing up. And I think that's just because I'm surrounded by those sorts of people now. Like those people are my friends. In fact, I used to live with someone who was so posh. I didn't even know you could be this posh, right? I used to live with someone who was so posh that every week he'd go to the supermarket and he'd buy 3 bottles of their finest ironing water. Yeah, do you know this? Ironing water. So it's the Waitrose Essentials, orange blossom and pomegranate. Right, I mean, there were weeks I couldn't afford bread, but the iron was on a juice cleanse. It's so ridiculous. So it's like, you know, ironing water. If you iron your clothes, you've got to put the water in so that it makes the steam, and if it runs out, it starts to make that noise, that kind of, you know, it sounds like a Glaswegian doing ASMR. Like, go to sleep, laddie. That kind of nationalism is actually not that bad. That sort of tone. That's when you know it's run out. You could just fill it up with normal water, but this is bottled. What it's the most ridiculous thing. I can't get my head around it, but I'm aware that now being around ironing water has made me so disconnected. Like at Christmas, I go back to the Midlands and visit my grandma, proper working class grandma. You know she's working class because her name is Mary, but it's short for Kathleen. And she'll say this sort of thing, like if you're, you know, if you've moved away from like your hometown, you'll probably get this as well. She'll say things like, oh, I don't know how you do it. Don't know how you do it in that London. £7 for a sandwich. Grandma, I don't spend £7 on a sandwich. I buy quinoa. And she was like, oh, do you know what? I went to that London once. Couldn't find lunch for less than £7. It was only a cheese batch. Grandma, where did you get a £7 cheese sandwich? Do you know where she's been for the day? See the sights, taken some culture? No, Harrods. Yeah. The canteen of the Sultan of Brunei, Harrods. She thinks that's my life, even though I have to drink from the iron to survive. It's the most annoying thing. And I suppose I understand where she's coming from. I know why she thinks that must be my life. It's because I've picked up all these traits. Like I say, I'm surrounded by posh people these days. For instance, I do so many posh things. I've noticed these posh habits now recently. For instance, whenever I go to a restaurant, firstly, I call it a restaurant. I don't speak any French, but I'm fluent in wanker. And first thing I'll do, I'll sit down, click, 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 garçon, and I'll order a sparkling water, because I don't know if you know, posh people love things that are disgusting. And something else I do that you could do in your lives, maybe on your sort of state-sanctioned walk, something I do, just a little life hack, is whenever I cross the road, I look in the opposite direction to the traffic, so people think I've just come back from Paris. It's a little life hack for you. To take that into your own lives. It's learning and fun. Okay, what I really wanted to get to, though, what I wanted to vent about, is I think what annoys me the most about living in the South, what annoys me the most about Southerners, now you may have some Southerners watching, and I just want to say to those people, take heed. Heed. You know when you've only ever read a word, you've never said it out loud. So you're just, is that? You're like, Harry, Ron, and Hermione went down to the forest. That sort of, you're like, what is that? Heed. So Southerners, take heed of this. An annoying thing some of you often do. I feel like I get this question all the time. I get people who say things to me like, was it terribly difficult? Was it terribly difficult growing up gay in the Midlands? You know, as though you don't get naturally occurring gays north of Cambridge. Sort of like, I've heard there's a flock of wild lesbians in Yorkshire, but I think they just escaped from someone's menagerie. Hebden Bridge. And I just feel like people presume, that if you grow up in a small place or somewhere that is a bit working class, then you must have just been like surrounded by backwards homophobes who voted leave. And it's like, no, in Coventry, actually, we've got broadband and a gay bar. Don't ask about the referendum. Also, I say gay bar, I mean car park. But it's fine, you can park your car in the woods. But I just think people presume if you've grown up in like a small place, then you must have lived your whole life never meeting anyone who is LGBTQ, or as I now say, LGBT. Just again, something you can take into your lives. I don't know how long I've done. I'll just tell you one more thing before I go. In fact, this might be anticipating a question you're about to ask me, because I know, lots of people sort of thinking like, how is it now for you? You don't have live gigs. Do you miss it? Do you miss doing live gigs? And honestly, if you were to ask me that, I'd have to sort of take a second to think about it. No, I don't think I do. Now, that's not to say that I wouldn't love to be with everyone in Excess Malarkey. You guys have fantastic audiences, but I think we can all admit regular comedy audiences are awful. I mean, why would I miss that? Why would I miss, driving through the night to perform to stag do's where the best man is so pissed that he gets kicked out before the first act has even been brought on stage, and then come the interval, the stag gets up to go to the toilet, but what's that? His leg's been secretly chained to the table on the banter. And, so then it's like, oh my God, how do we set him free? How, who's got the key? Oh, I know, it's the best man. So let's get in contact with him. Oh, no, we can't do that because he's out there pissed, stumbling in the streets of Reading, and he's lost his phone. So then the venue had to call the fire brigade to come and set him free with a pair of bolt cutters. That's actually Reading jonglers. But I suppose the thing that I don't miss necessarily, and maybe it's changing. I'll tell you just this before I go. Is once I was at one of these gigs. I was sort of backstage, peering around the curtain, looking at the audience who they weren't paying attention to what was happening on stage. They were just like hitting themselves and blaming immigrants. And I sort of, and I was like, oh God, what am I going to do? And I heard the host of the show introduce me to the stage like this. Now I'm just. Next up, we have some Bender comedy from Joe Sutherland. I know, like that's the first time I found out that what I was doing was Bender comedy. I'd just been calling it comedy. And that's actually not the worst. That's not the worst one. A worse version of that story actually occurred in real life to a good friend of mine, son of Manchester, Stephen Bailey. Some of you may know him. Very funny, very, very, very funny. Sort of a real voice of the people. Like a working man's Joe Sutherland. Joe Sutherland, of course, being an affordable Tom Allen. But he had a worse one. Stephen Bailey had a worse one because he was at a show and he was backstage and he heard the host introduce him like this. Now, we don't have any women on tonight's bill, but your next act might as well be one. Please welcome to the stage, Stephen Bailey. I know, right, man? Like, honestly, so in the eyes of this host, being, LGBT made you the equivalent of like a woman and therefore a second-class citizen. And God knows we can't have more than one of them on a comedy bill because the men would get confused. Poor cisgendered straight men just need to see yourselves represented. I mean, when will you get a voice? Now, my only problem with these stories, these introductions, is that, it's not that they were offensive, right? I think my issue is that they were trying to be funny, that they sort of made us, and by extension, like a lot of people maybe watching, into like the victim. And I just think, say what you want in comedy. Just make sure that everybody is sort of involved, like honestly, Toby, you could say anything to me. You could call me a cocksucking ass-munching faggotron from the planet Kufto. And if I'm in on it, we're best friends. But these introductions, they weren't funny, they weren't sophisticated, certainly not as sophisticated as cocksucking ass-munching faggotron from the planet Kufto, but not everybody has this golden wit. So what I've done before I go is I've actually written my own homophobic introductions. Just I thought, I might as well sort of tailor them to myself. Then hosts in the country are free to use them. And then I'm in on the joke. So the first one just goes like this. Now, your next act may look young, but there's a painting in his attic that looks like absolute shit. Please welcome to the stage the 21st century Dorian Gay. It's Joe Sutherland. And then finally, the second one continues a literary theme because, not to brag, but I studied English literature at GCSE. Our next act is a huge fan of Harry Potter. See, it is a relevant topic. Harry Potter, no offense, Sophie. Harry Potter. And as they say in the Wizarding, The wand chooses the wizard. Well, meet the boy who's been chosen by many, many wands. It's Joe Sutherland. Ha ha ha. Yeah. Yeah. The wands are dicks. Just everyone, just a little sub note. Like Expecto Patronum. That's actually, for any like expert fans, you'll know that is actually the perfect spell for it as an example, because the first time Harry attempts it, all that emerges from the tip is a silvery wisp. Again, just learning. Well, I think that's all from me. I should go soon, as I actually, for this little, funny comedy joke gag appearance, I cut my leg earlier, and now the floor is filling with blood. Thanks.
Joe Sutherland, ladies and gentlemen, yay! Joe, that was glorious.
Oh, you're too kind.
Now you had no laughter coming back then because of the way we dealt with the technology. The camera loves you. How did you find performing not to a crowd but to a screen?
Not that different from my usual hobbies. I'm a fan of an adult self-portrait, shall we say. I'm not doing these home workouts for my self-esteem. So I would say I spent far too long positioning the lighting, and in fact setting up different vistas that I could have used, and ended up choosing this one at the last minute out of panic.
Well, it's lovely. It's very intimate to be allowed into your boudoir. Thank you, because we don't, it's not what one normally sees. There's so much glorious stuff in there, Joe. Hermie one.
Did you not? Either Hermie 1 or Hermie Own?
Well, I'm very old, but I had my equivalent, there was a book when I was younger called The Ghost of Thomas Kemp, and it was written by an author called Penelope Lively, and it was read on the radio, and it said, or Jack and Ori, The Ghost of Thomas Kemp. And we had the book on the shelf, and Penelope was, of course, spelled Penelope. And I said to my mum, is Penelope short for Penelope? And she went, no, it's the same. But I've got a worse one, Joe. I'd always heard talk. I was brought up in the countryside in the middle of nowhere. I'd always heard talk of a shop called W.H. Smith. And when I went to visit my nan and walked down the high street, I was always perturbed by the name of this shop on the awning. In its awning said Wuhsmith. That's a very odd name for a shop. And it was only about 5 years of visiting my grandmother that one day I went, oh, Wuhsmith is W.H. Smith, and worked out that the two were one in the same. And I felt like a right fool.
You thought they were separate entities in your head the whole time?
Yeah, I couldn't quite get my head around why anyone would call a shop Wuhsmith either. It's not a word. It doesn't fucking mean anything. But I'd never seen a W.H. Smith, and I didn't realise the two were the same. So that was my equivalent of Hermie 1, because when Harry Potter came out, my reading was pretty good. And I'd met a few Hermiones in the past because I did drama at university. So it was a name with which I was not unfamiliar. So how's it going for you, Joe? How long have you been doing the old comedy lark
now? About 7 years.
7 years.
Mm-hmm.
And what made you decide to do it?
Attention. And I would say money, but we all know that's not the case.
Well, we're hoping the audience will make a fool of that sentence this evening when they donate generously via PayPal.
Yes, that's a professional. I just always a fan. My parents are both big fans of it, and so I sort of if I was very good at bunking off. I could create a very convincing stomachache when I didn't want to go to school, and then I would use those days to sit and watch the VHS tapes that my dad actually had in his attic, like Billy Connolly and Eddie Izzard, and my mum would like take dinner ladies off the telly, stuff like that.
I liked your Jongleurs Reading story, because I had the pleasure of doing Jongleurs Reading, and I was comparing, and so I remember going away, having welcomed an act on stage, and go to eat an apple or something, and then came back, and everyone went, where were you? There was a massive fight. I don't know what they'd have expected me to do. I don't know why my absence was. But the act on was Gordon Sutherland, and he dealt with it brilliantly. But there was a fight, during quite a lot of his set, because it wasn't dealt with necessarily speedily. There was a fight between two tables at the back. It was. People don't believe you sometimes when you tell those sorts of tales of live audiences, but you've put them in your act, which is quite nice to reveal the truth of it all. Not quite the same now, though, is it?
I suppose not year round, but I did sort of. I took sick pleasure in the run up to Christmas, how every comic's Instagram live just became to the T documentation of those exact situations. In fact, there was a massive fight that occurred just on the 20th of December or something at a club in Birmingham that I managed to see from 3 different angles, because the whole lineup had filmed it and put it on their Instagram. And I was so glad. I was like, this finally, we're lifting the lid. This is our dispatches.
Well, I mean, I mean, one place that sits closed down. I mean, those intros that you told me appalling. I mean, I did have one in Liverpool where an act was doing sort of, close your legs, love, I can see your cabbage. It was that level of humour having to follow. And I was just starting out, and he went, don't worry, I'll be back. I'll be back in a bit, but we got a train coming on now, so be nice. Call Toby or someone. Anyway, I'll be back soon. Anyway, and so I went on to that, which was non-specific awfulness, but those ones that you quoted were terrible. And it's interesting, because I have to say, as as the pendulum swings, a lot of the conversation now is about we live in a very liberal society now. Why are people still making an issue of things? And it's interesting, isn't it, how sort of casual some of that awful stuff out there still is. Look at but did you find how recent were those tales that you told?
They're not so recent, I must admit. So hopefully they're more examples of a sort of swan song era, I suppose. And I've definitely maybe I'm in a sort of weird but very nice position of having started just before a wave of people who are sort of coming up now, if that's the terminology, who are just don't have the same sort of baggage in a way. So it's so great and cool and refreshing to see people a few years younger, just having not having been told that they had to dilute what they did in a certain way. So they're just coming completely fresh out the bat. So it's really exciting, but it's also annoying, because it's oh God, we have to relearn everything we did in the sort of late noughties or whatever.
Yeah, but they're going to be the fascists of the future, Joe, because they haven't had to suffer. It's like self-made people who hate the poor go, well, I'm fine, you should be all right. You see that's the problem. So what are you doing? What are you doing online during this horrible muck that's keeping us indoors? Do you keep doing anything that we can find?
Well, I've had some other projects that have been existing behind closed doors, so I haven't had much time. I'd wanted to try and get into some workout instruction videos that doubled as a sort of therapy, and I managed to get one up there that's on my Instagram and everything. And so maybe I just met a deadline yesterday, so maybe I'll be able to get a few more of those out in the coming weeks. God, I hope it's only weeks.
Well, thank you for joining. I thought that was absolutely brilliant, and I thought you distilled a stand-up set into the medium of webcam rather brilliantly, and I was delighted by that. I was chortling away, which nobody could hear because we didn't have that. We're still labouring over how that. Anyway, that doesn't matter. Joe Sutherland, thank you very much indeed. Hooray! And I hope you don't bleed to death. Yes, it's a bit like this laughter thing. It's a bit like the sitcom MASH, which was shown in this country without a laughter track. And then one week, BBC Two accidentally showed it with the laughter track switched on. And that was because in America it did have a laughter track. And now on the DVDs, you can choose whether to have the laughter track or not. And there was something about it's such a clever and funny program that I remember watching it with the laughter track, and it sort of sullied it for me. It seemed somehow slightly grotesque that it should be laughing at itself, and the jokes seemed somehow less clever and less funny. So now when I do a set, so I prefer to watch MASH without the laughter track. And now when I do a set and I don't get any laughs whatsoever, I think, well, at least it's cleverer and funnier than it would have been had anybody been laughing. So thanks to Joe for that. Oh, I've got to plug Excess Malarkey, which is what we're doing every Sunday, where the Excess gang / posse / crew / massive. Why did I use all of those words at once when I might need to use them in a sentence later? Get together and listen to two archive performances from Excess Malarkey, where two people who played in the past have given us their permission to play their sets, and we'll be laughing along to them to provide a visual. But it's great. It works because the recording is very good quality, and the audience laughter doesn't drown out the punchlines. And we've also been doing it where we've been getting the acts on and dissecting their sets and inspirations, just to take all of the magic and creativity out of what you've just experienced and digested. Sophie has joined in by saying she thought it was Hermione and Hagrid. So more of your Harry Potter misapprehensions pronunciation-wise, please, and we'll make a theme of this. Sophie looks like she's painting in the corner of my screen here. Anyway, you can't see that. Stop acknowledging things they have no knowledge of. The next act, ladies and gentlemen. Oh, I love working with this guy. I worked with him a lot in London over the years at the 99 Club, and he's always been kind enough to come to Excess too. I first got to know him at the Edinburgh Fringe when he and Nish Kumar and all their gang at the Durham Review would come and fill out my audience if it was quiet and I had somebody important in. And they were such lovely young people, and I'm so delighted to see that they've become lovely and successful older people. But the fact is that they were very young then, and now they're sort of quite proper grown-ups with careers and things. It terrifies me slightly, because that means that I'm ancient and probably soon to be put out of my misery. But misery is not the watchword when this next person is performing. Please welcome him into your homes via the medium of whatever the fuck this is. Stamp your feet, clap your hands. It's only Mr. Ed Gamble! Yay!
Oh, it's so lovely to be introduced by the compere and have the word misery so close to your own name. What a wonderful way to be welcomed to an online comedy club. It's a new world that I'm not quite used to yet. I've never been doing a gig, for example, or watching another act and then see the compere being brought his dinner halfway through, which was an absolutely majestic thing to see. I thought it was Harry Potter, by the way, for a long time. So we all got the character names mixed up. Can we just address the microphone situation? I thought we were all being professional and sort of having a bit of a setup, and now I feel like the prick who's turned up to bowling with his own shoes. Everyone else sounds absolutely fine with whatever equipment they've got, and I've literally it's got like a proper look at this. I look like some sort of alt-right American right-wing podcaster. Morphed into a Joe Rogan figure in the 4 weeks that we've had lockdown. I'm going to start espousing some really weird theories, like we should give babies MDMA or something. And by the way, this is me trying to grow a beard. This is an absolute nightmare. This is 5 weeks growth, and it's grown out like little girls' hair. You could brush it and plait it. It's the softest thing I've ever felt. But that's the look down. Anyway, that's the look explained. I'm not going to be alt-right, by the way. If anyone's worried and they've not seen me before, I'm not particularly edgy sort of comedian. Just to give you an insight into what sort of comedy I normally do when I'm performing live. a few months ago, one of my stand-up routines was tweeted by the CBeebies Twitter account. So that's the sort of person you're dealing with. I checked the remit for CBeebies. It's for 0 to 6-year-olds. 0. Someone can enjoy my humour, and they've not even had 1 year on this planet. You know, who's your favourite comedian? Ed Gamble. How old are you? None. I am none. You're not getting any rude stuff from me. It's very difficult to catch people up with what you've been up to. I do a radio show every week as well, and our normal thing is we chat about what we've been up to. But I've done nothing because I've been self-isolating. Only 2 things have happened to me this week. I've been ordering my food from a delivery service that normally delivers to restaurants, and I accidentally ordered 5 kilos of chicken thighs. So that's something that happened. Second thing that happened to me, everyone's mics have been turned off now. I just want to give you a little insight if you're watching at home that I suddenly looked panicked. It's because the acts all had their mics on and I could hear them chuckling away. And now they've all turned them off. So this now feels like a fucking existential nightmare. Fair enough. No, don't you worry. Actually, this is quite refreshing. Normally, audiences really get in my way. I'm trying to get my views across and they laugh, they interrupt me. And now, if you're not laughing, it doesn't matter. I'll just carry on. This is what my ego has always needed. This is the biggest ego massage of all time, right? Here's what happened. Some foxes be fucking outside my house. They'd be fucking all the time. That's what I assumed was happening. I heard a lot of fucking noises, and you get told that that's the foxes fucking. About 5 o'clock in the morning a few days ago, I heard the fucking noises, and I looked out, and it was just one fox on a wall and one fox off the wall, and they were just shouting in each other's faces. Now, as far as I'm concerned, that's completely unacceptable. If they be fucking, leave them to their fucking, right? They can make as much noise as they like. If they're just having a bit of an argument, that is not going to interrupt my sleep. And my girlfriend said, I said this too lucidly for 5 o'clock in the morning. I said it far too quickly. The idea came to me straight away. I just said, I'm going to go and throw satsumas at them. So I went downstairs. I knew I've got a Rolodex of all the food we've got in. I went downstairs. I grabbed 3 satsumas from the bowl. I stormed outside in my pants. 1 satsuma let rip, smacked into the wall, spooked the first fox, he ran away. Another satsuma, bang, hit the wall, other fox ran away. 1 more for good luck, threw it too hard, got a bit arrogant, and it smashed into my own car. So that's the lockdown life that I'm leading. Also, I set my own burglar alarm off a lot. Just before all of this, I thought I'd pay for a burglar alarm. Bit of a waste of money now, because burglars aren't a fucking thing anymore. You're not going to try and burgle anyone. Everyone's in all of the time. So I paid for this burglar alarm anyway. I always forget that it's on. And what I'll do is I'll go to the bathroom. I'll go to the bathroom for a shower. I'll open the window to let the steam out, and that will immediately start the burglar alarm going. I'll then have to run down the stairs, butt naked, to try and turn it off on time. What I always forget, the first time I did it, went down, turned the burglar alarm off, turned around just in time to have a photo taken of me as part of the alarm system, poof, straight away like that. Now that picture goes straight to the alarm company. Straight off to the alarm company, to some poor girl working in Swansea. I've never sent a dick pic before, but I didn't anticipate that it would be a full body shot. Every morning I forget about that. I go down there, butt naked, spin round. Now I just about remember as I'm spinning my body round to cover myself up. But what I'm going to do now is just slowly reveal myself bit by bit in every photo. So at the alarm company, they'll have a sort of Victorian pornographic flick book. That's literally all I've been up to. So what I'm going to do now is my dad gave me a joke book 3 years ago that he bought on holiday in Barbados. And he said, maybe you could use some of these in your act. I haven't wanted to up until this point, but that's what's going to happen now. This is, it's called Belly Laughs. It's by a comedian in Barbados called Kemerick Bing Bong Harrison. There's Kemerick there. Kemerick Bing Bong Harrison. Clean jokes. That's what they're clean jokes. Since writing 2 previous joke books, several persons have asked me to create some new jokes. There was some reluctance about providing new material, as I've seen my work being used at comedy shows and in plays without any recognition of me being the creator or author. He's very litigious. This is what you've got to know about Kenrick, which means we're really treading on eggshells here, because I'm about to broadcast this on the internet. After much consideration and in the interest of making a sad face smile or a bored person laugh, I decided to proceed. However, I have planned to police taped recordings put out by artists. This is the blurb. Imagine this, blurb for your book. And where there is an infringement of my copyright, I will be using all legal options available to me to seek compensation and, if possible, exemplary damages. As a reader, I urge you to respect my creativity and enjoy the laughs provided. Right, let's enjoy some of the laughs provided. Just to let you know before I read some of these out, most of them are just very short, very depressing stories. Okay. A lot of them end with husbands discovering that their wives have been unfaithful to them, and then they try and hang themselves. So this is a classic example. This one's called Alcoholic. They've all got titles. My uncle was an alcoholic, and regardless of how his wife tried to get him to stop consuming the huge doses of alcohol, she just couldn't. One day, my uncle's brother was visiting from overseas and took him into an expensive store. He told him to choose whatever he wanted. He chose half a gallon of rum. So that's that joke. It's the end of that one. Just a sad story about a man who's got a drinking problem. Some of them are a bit more fun. Rushing to catch an aeroplane. Oh, this one's called Economics. Rushing to catch an aeroplane, a passenger rushed into the bookstore and asked the attendant who was on her first day on duty if she had an Economist, brackets the magazine. Because we all know what good jokes need are brackets. Economist, brackets the magazine. Her response was, yes, my husband is one. So you see what's happened there. It's been a bit of a misunderstanding, hasn't it, there, because it's her first day. Also, he's got a mild obsession with Osama bin Laden. There's sort of 4 or 5 pages on Osama bin Laden. There's a drawing of him that he's done a drawing of Osama bin Laden. And it's peppered with red notices saying the reproduction of any of this material on tapes of any kind or in written form, such as in newspapers, books, magazines, etc., is strictly prohibited. Bit of fun. Oh, this is a great one. Born Big, this is called. I have a cousin who is always doing some very smart things. It is easy to associate him with boys who are much more advanced in age. He overheard his mother telling a friend that he behaves as if he were born big. He went to his mother saying, "Mother, if I was born big, where did I pass through?" Yep. He's also a very arrogant man. This one's called Bing Bong, named after himself. There was a comedy contest to be held in the USA with the winner take all. 20 comedians entered the contest, but when they heard Bing Bong had entered, the other 19 dropped out. Bing Bong very proud of himself there. I'll leave you in a bit, but I've been doing a lot more cooking in lockdown, so I'm going to give you a recipe for a lasagna that I made yesterday. Here we go. This is my lockdown lasagna. Ingredients: garlic, onion, beef mince, pork mince, chopped tomatoes, red wine, low self-esteem, tomato puree, a short temper, flour, butter, milk, lasagna sheets, mozzarella, cheddar, parmesan, a terrible oven, a blunt knife, deep-rooted anger about father. Okay. First, dice the onion. Dice is a cooking word that means chop, and despite it being called dice, you need to make the bits smaller than actual dice. There are many ways of successfully dicing an onion, but for this recipe, you need to ignore all of them and wildly hack at the onion until it's a range of different sized pieces. This ensures uneven cooking and an unpleasant eating experience. Finally, grate the garlic into a paste. You know you are finished when you can feel the unimaginable pain of grating your finger. The skin and blood adds depth of flavour. Once you realise the garlic is stuck on the back of the grater, smack it onto the side of a ceramic bowl to release it, shattering the bowl and somehow leaving the garlic where it is. Use your bloody stump finger and flick it directly onto the floor. Gently brown the beef and pork mince in olive oil. If you can't get an all-over brown colour, burn some and leave some raw. This still means they're brown on average. The mince will be providing a lot of liquid. Momentarily consider taking a shot of it just to see what would happen. Add the onions and garlic, making sure to get at least half of the onions onto the hob's flame. The acrid smell will keep any nosy people out of the kitchen. Add a splash of red wine, then drink the rest of the red wine. Add all the tomatoes, then wash the can ready for recycling. Forget about that and just put it in the normal bin. Let the sauces simmer until it looks like food. Now prepare the bechamel. Throughout this process, continue to swear and scream about why you didn't just buy a jar. Combine the flour and butter to make a roux, slowly whisk in the milk over a gentle heat until you have a silky. At this point, add some more flour to thicken it and create huge lumps. Then leave on the heat whilst you go for an emergency shit and return to the pan to find a brown mess. Better than 2 brown messes, am I right? Ha ha ha, you're quite drunk now. Throw out the bechamel and just use mayonnaise or yogurt. Now it's time to build the lasagna. Garfield likes lasagna, doesn't he? Take a few minutes to be reminded of your cat that died and cry. At this point, realise that you don't have a proper dish for the lasagna and instead decide to bake it in a muffin tin. Layer up the meat sauce, pasta, bechamel and cheese until you have run out. Make sure you have not preheated your oven and pop your meaty muffins in. To make up for lack of preheating, whack oven up to full, then realise you've actually put the grill on. Scorch the tops of your pasta until what you have made is closer to creme brulee than lasagna. Turn off the oven, fall asleep in front of it, and voila, a very special lockdown lasagna. Thank you very much.
Ladies and gentlemen. Thank you, Ed.
Hey, thanks, Toby.
That was beautiful.
Thanks,
I would
man.
just like to say for the record that the content and dissemination of each individual act's set is entirely their legal responsibility. just should any of that make its way to, what's it, Mr. Ding Dong?
Bing Bong.
Mr.
Ding Dong is his double act partner, but they don't speak anymore.
I like the last one where all the other acts dropped out. That sounded like a Chuck Norris boast. Did you ever see the Chuck Norris stuff on the internet? Where
it did. Bing Bong is very much the Chuck Norris of humour.
But of course, the beauty with Chuck was it wasn't Chuck doing it.
Yeah,
that was as if Chuck had done his own.
Yeah, Bing Bong's creating his own legend out there.
I could tell he was going to be litigious because he used the word persons where he could have just said people.
Yeah, he'd look that up.
Yeah, you know, that's something. It's like when people say, and I don't know about you, Ed, I'm quite just when people say myself when they just mean me.
Yeah,
they attempt to sound sort of formal or educated, and they sound neither. You know, I notice the police do it a lot. Not that I'm getting arrested left, right, and centre. But I'd often say, yes, if you could get back to myself. No, I'm not going to get back to yourself. Anyway. Sorry.
Because we all know what the police love is for you to angrily scream in their face about their sort of grammar and diction.
Absolutely. And I'm sorry. I'm dominant. I'm getting a bit all myself. So I'm not going to do that. I will turn it over. It's lovely to see you, Ed. I haven't seen you for a while. What have you been up to?
Oh, well, same thing as everyone's been doing for the last few weeks, really. But finished a tour last year. Was going to start writing a new show. And then sort of tricky to do that. I very much vibe off an audience, Toby. I really need an audience to tell me if something's funny or not. Because despite having done this for many years, I'm still never sure. So you know what it's like. You can be super confident about something you've written, and then you can go and do it in front of an audience and realise that the bit you wrote accidentally on the way to the stage is the best bit.
Well, I love seeing you develop your stuff. There was a time when you and I worked together, almost every week when you were coming to the 99 Club. And I remember particularly you developing a couple of bits. One was a bit I'd improvised around once very badly and thought, I'm never going to visit that. I can't make it funny. And it's about making a pizza out of base out of cauliflower.
Yes.
And you came and you did a bit about pizza base out of cauliflower, which was really good. And then you came back the following week and it was really, really good. And then you came back and you just kept sort of coming back to it. And it was because 99 Club, for people who don't know, is where established acts like Ed might come. I'm the regular MC on a Wednesday. Established acts like Ed will come and perhaps do a load of new material, amongst other stuff, to develop stuff. And watching that routine, which started off as a good idea about a subject that was right for comedy, to turn into something that was just so funny and a glorious piece. Watching that develop was lovely. But is that how you develop that? By you keep coming back in front of the crowd? Yeah,
I just need to keep doing it in front of the crowd, and you end up writing on stage quite a lot as well, and just finding out what people actually find funny, and then just honing those bits, and then adding bits to that and stacking it. That's what I really like. That's the stage of the show I really like, when you're just building it like that.
And what do you then do? Do you write it down and learn it verbatim, or do you just have general points that you want to get to, but you sort of riff in between.
Yeah, I've got the beats. I can never write stuff unless it's like a recipe. I can never write stuff down and then go and perform it on stage, because it just doesn't sound natural. I think I'm best when I sound like I'm just having a chat. So
yeah. And when we first met, you were doing sketches with the Durham Review. So was the intention always to use your comedy to go into stand up, or did that?
No, I hadn't really thought about it, to be honest. I like doing the sketches because I like hanging out with my mates. And I liked acting. I wanted to do more acting, but I just sort of fell into it. I was doing a character as well, like a character stand-up act for a while of a romantic novelist, which was all written down. And then I know I got signed, and then I just started doing gigs for myself. I just thought it would be a good way in. But now I love doing that. But I always just wanted to do comedy in some form.
And so were you going to Edinburgh this year? Was that the plan?
I was going to go and do a work in progress. I was going to go and cheat the system, really. So I was just going to go and do a month of work in progress and then tour the show in January next year, which is I might tour January next year anyway. I'm doing some European dates that got postponed because of this, and then I might tour beginning of next year or autumn next year if I've got time to work up a show.
Well, what else are you doing?
Yeah, but I can't work up the show if there's no one there.
Because you haven't got the audience.
I could write an hour, but I can't then take it on tour because I get on stage and go, it turns out 45 minutes of this is absolute mad shit.
Yeah, sure. And how has do you think comedy has changed? I mean, you've got a Netflix special on. You've got a Netflix.
It's Amazon Prime.
Amazon Prime show. So do you think that the sort of accessibility of getting your stuff out there has changed, or do you worry that now that stuff is out there, you've got to keep continually producing stuff because once you disseminate it, it's gone in a sense?
Yeah, I think it's a double-edged sword, really, because I think we should be producing all the time. So I think if it's a bit of a catalyst for that, if it's like, well, people have seen it before, so I need to write something new, I think that's the good side of it. But also, you don't want to get the stuff out there too early, because like all the stuff on the special on Amazon Prime is stuff I've been doing for a good while, and I've done that thing that you talked about, which is just building on it and adding to it. And it got to the point where I was like, I don't think I can tinker with this too much more now. I think it feels pretty funny. I'm really happy with it. But you don't want to end up getting to the point where you're putting half-baked shit out there. I don't know. Also, I think we worry too much about it as comedians that audiences have seen a bit before. I actually don't think the majority of audiences mind. I think if they're seeing it live and they're excited to see it, and some audiences like seeing bits they've seen before because they like nudging their friend and going, oh, this is a good bit, I really enjoy this. I
once gigged with Charlie Chuck. Did you remember Charlie Chuck?
Yeah.
Vic and Bob show, and he had a horde of sort of regulars who were fans of it, and they actually gave him requests. It's like watching a band and somebody going, sing that. They go, do the bit about the chicken. But oh dear, yeah. So that was quite. Have you never had that? I take it somebody's gone. Apart from me, go do the cauliflower pizza base.
No, I've not had people shouting out requests, but I've had people say they like a bit and they wish I'd done that bit. I think, and also it changes naturally, and the live environment changes things, and you never know what's going to happen in the room, so it's different every time.
And so I assume that even though you've done so much sort of TV stuff now, you never want to stop doing the live thing. No,
that's the reason. I think the reason most people do TV. It's lovely to be offered it, and it's a really nice little bonus. But the good thing about it, of most shows, is it sells tickets to shows. So it just puts you in a really lovely position where you don't really have to worry that you're going to be performing to empty rooms. So that's the reason I do. It's the reason I do TV, is so I can keep doing live stuff. And you alluded to your beard, which we can all see. Now, have you been growing this because it's a way of sort of, etching onto your physiognomy the very suffering that mankind is going through? Is that the why you have the beard? I have this, whatever it is. I'm not officially calling it a beard. Whatever this is, I have because it's an experiment. Because there was no way I would actually leave the house for professional engagements with this on my face. But I thought, let's just leave it as long as possible and see what comes out. And at the moment, what comes out is sort of quite patchy, very soft, almost gossamer-like, sort of blonde, ginger, silver, and black. It's a big old mix.
And what I like about that, because I do like the psychology of that, and I mean, I'm as somebody who's currently sporting a handlebar moustache, I sort of slightly sympathise with the idea that now is a time to experiment with facial hair because we're not going outside. Yeah, ironically, if we'd both been doing excess Malarkey tonight, fewer people would have seen us than are currently watching us in cyberspace because of the way that the numbers roll. Because it's easier to not leave your house.
It's so much easier if you don't have to see the disgusted looks on everyone's faces.
Oh, the Twitch, I'm told by the medium of letters, the Twitch chat are loving the beard, Ed.
Oh, great. Thanks, Twitch chat.
Yeah, so proof once again that democracy is not a failure. So, Ed, what else are you doing during lockdown that viewers and listeners might like to come across?
So I've got various podcast projects. I do a food interview podcast with James Acaster called Off Menu, which is safe for the time being. We have got, over 30 episodes pre-recorded of that. So we've got a lot to release, so that's not going anywhere. We did a streamed episode with Richard Herring on YouTube, a live stream, and we might be doing another one in early May with a special guest, so keep an eye out for that. I do a Radio X show every Sunday morning, which I can do from home, which is such a great luxury to do a radio show in your dressing gown. With Matthew Crosby, that's every Sunday, 8 till 11 on Radio X, but there's a podcast of that as well. And I'm also currently releasing a podcast called Lifers, which is a Spotify exclusive, and it's about my passion for heavy metal. And I interview heavy metal icons about why they keep doing it, despite all the sacrifices they have to make. And you don't have to be into heavy metal to enjoy it. I meet some real characters. So have a listen to that. And like you say, my special Blood Sugar is on Amazon Prime.
And Lifers is so good, says a little sentence in the corner of my screen.
Very nice.
Well, thank you, Ed, and thank you for bringing the first pop shield to the Excess Online gigs.
I got rid of the pop shield because I felt like too much of a wanker.
Oh, I just meant the little round.
Oh no! Sorry. Yeah, that's the pop shield, isn't it? I've got. I had a thing as well.
Oh wow! I don't know what that is. I know what
it's a soundproofing thing. It's because I've got to record podcasts and voiceovers and stuff. So
yeah, I use my wardrobe.
Yeah, because you're a normal person, Toby, and not an absolute fucking tosser who's got all this equipment.
No, you see, that's somebody. That's typical, isn't it? You can't be seen to go. I'm just actually doing it properly, because people go, who the fuck does he think he is doing something properly? We're Britain. We don't do things properly. We do things shitly. This is what's wrong with us as a nation. You're actually setting an example of how to correctly do things, but you're having to defend yourself. You're having to put your own self down.
That's the point. Yeah,
people
good point.
think you're getting ideas above your station.
In many ways, I'm the best man.
Yeah, in many ways you are.
Yeah.
Well, Ed, it's always a joy to see you. I miss the fact that we used to gig together all the time. And
me too, Toby.
You always deliver, and I love watching your work. And
Toby, you're an absolute legend. I just want to say, Toby's an absolute legend of the comedy circuit, and he gave me my first ever paid gig. Me and Nish Kumar travelled to Manchester to do Excess Malarkey in, it must have been about 5 or 6 venues ago,
yes.
To do the open spot in the middle. And Toby gave us actual cash money in the middle, and we'd never had that before. And it was so exciting. So thank you very much, Toby.
Well, bless you. Well, you've come a long way, and you've come a long way since then as well. That's good to say. And thanks for coming and doing it. And you've done many shows there since. It's always a delight to see you. Please, ladies and gentlemen, give it up for the marvelous Mr. Ed Gamble. Yay! Oh, thank you, Ed. Well, I'm going to get the you'll like this. Don't stop listening. My space robots tell me. I'm just calling them that now. Twitch chat are swooning all over Ed. It's dangerous. Well, there we go. Well, enjoy this.
It's not that sort of show, Twitch. Put them away.
It is called Twitch. Dummy. Now, oh dear. Look, he has enough swooning. Look, if there's swooning to go around, swoon over me. Nobody ever fucking swoons over me. People just want actor facts. I'm a man of flesh as well, you know. He's got enough swooning. So we have one final. I'd love to be a sex symbol. We have one final. I've got to plug Accessible Archive. I've done that. Pen in mouth, Toby, looks like George Peppard, writes Nick Sheridan, who's called Nick Sheridan Writes. Thanks, Nick Sheridan Writes. Pen in mouth looks like George Peppard. What? But during what? The 80s? Oh, because he smokes a cigar in the opening titles of the. I always thought the bit where Dirk Benedict playing Face pointed at a Cylon in the opening titles because he was Starbuck in Battlestar Galactica was the most sophisticated and funny joke ever because it was meta in the opening titles. That's a window into my childhood. Now, but I hated the 80s because they put it opposite Doctor Who and it got higher viewing figures, even though its attitude to violence was frankly damaging because nobody ever got killed despite the huge amount of explosions. Doctor Who got into trouble for being too violent. When it wasn't actually. Well, I mean, no, there's no argument. Let's not get into that. Right. Sorry. So listen, it's now I feel slightly bad because for the first time in God knows how long, I've shaved my head today, and then suddenly realised it's like turning up to a party with the same outfit on. We have a genuine person who does this properly. But ladies and gentlemen, what a delight. Another person I haven't seen in far too long who I absolutely adore gigging with, and I'm delighted has made it into the cyberspace version of Access Malarkey. I'm going to look forward to chatting to him because we haven't even been able to say hello because of the way this works. But I'm going to welcome him onto the virtuous stage first, and he can do his thing. Ladies and gentlemen, I hate the fact I say thang, and I've said it twice. Please welcome into your homes the masterful, the majestic, the also be-pocket squared, Mr. Tom Allen, ladies and gentlemen.
Oh, me. Oh, how kind, Sophie. How lovely to be here in this surreal space that we are all in. And I've left my earphones in. I sort of feel like, what is this? It's sort of turning into one of those like annoying Zoom calls, isn't it? Where I inevitably will try and angle it so I get I try not to show my double chin. But Toby, you look fabulous. Don't feel bad. Don't feel bad. You look great like that. So don't change a thing.
I feel like you look like the person people go to bed with, and I look like the one they wake up with.
Sadly, when you say go to bed with, you mean probably listen to on a podcast. So, because they're insomniacs. But nonetheless, it's lovely to be here. And to echo what Ed said, Access Malarkey has always been very good to me, and you have been wonderful. And I love being in Manchester, I was going to say, but I'm not, because I'm in the study of my mum and dad's house. So that's nice. And I'm just sort of I feel like I'm a terrible ending to what has been a wonderful evening, but I come to you in a bit of a stress because earlier today, somebody tweeted me to say, do you know Elaine Page is doing like a one-sided duet that she's encouraging people to sing along to? And I said, oh my goodness, that's amazing, and retweeted it in doing that, and then got a response from Ilana Paja herself saying, I'm waiting for your video. Now, if there's anybody watching this who doesn't know who Elaine Page is, just go fuck yourself. And so I got this response from her. I'm waiting for your video. So I was like, okay, I've got to do this now. So then I had to hold up this very laptop I'm talking to you on against my shoulder and try and sing, but I can't sing, and of course I had to do it stupidly. So I did it, and then she responded, and now I feel like I'm in this like dialogue, and I'm not sure if she was like having a dig at me because Twitter cut the video off at the end, which was because her video was too long. I didn't like to say that. And she said I should have gone to the co-op to buy some more data because I'd run out of data. And I don't know if she was actually having a go. So I don't know if I'm being negged by Elaine Page. But either way, I've had a wonderful day. And so I come to you with a certain energy that I wouldn't normally bring to any circumstances. But I'm very glad to be here. And it has been a strange time for all of us. And I have even done things like exercise. Yes, it's true. I've been exercising. I went for a 5K run because every bastard goes for a 5K run now, and you get nominated to do it because it's for the NHS, and so you can't say no, and you have to do it. And it was horrible experience, even though it was for a great cause. And also, I saw some paramedics driving past, and I waved at them as I went through. So I thought I was actually doing something good, but I did not. No big deal. No big deal, guys. I felt great about myself for doing that. I very much enjoyed. I very much did enjoy the run, and I had a great running playlist, mainly of show tunes, and also a friend of mine called Lucy, who you don't know. She told me to keep my upper body loose, so I was like running like that, and she said you have to pretend like you've got a packet of crisps in your hand, and you're running with them, and you're trying not to spill them. So, but I basically run like that. It then turned out, so it looked like I was doing this sort of fabulous kind of like shimmy from some sort of one of those like 50s films, like South Pacific or something. So I really enjoyed that, and I've been juicing, which sounds disgusting, and it is. But it doesn't. It's nothing like what Lizzo says, who I love. Where's Lizzo been our whole lives? Anyway, I've been juicing. Basically, you put all these things that you think are going to be healthy into a blender, but it's not a blender, is it? Because you've ordered it from John Lewis and it's called a NutriBullet. What does that mean? What does that mean? It just means you can put the knife bit in water. It's not a. It's still a blender. And some whatever. So anyway, I put all the vegetables in, and a few fruits, because if you just put vegetables in, it tastes fucking disgusting. Put it all in. You've got to put water in, though, because if you don't put water in it, you're just sludging up the products of the earth, which is repulsive. You put it in, and then you press it down, and then I get this smell of burning rubber, which I normally get when I'm driving. Not because I've set fire to my underpants, but because I'm not very good with braking, and I keep my foot on the brake all the time when I'm driving, and apparently that's not good. And apparently you shouldn't have your foot on the clutch all the time. But again, I just love it. You never know when you might need to stop. You know, when you do those that thing where you click at the driving test, you have to click the hazards. Everything's a hazard on that. So now I'm a driver. I've gone off on a tangent. Listen, what are you going to do? What are you going to do? Heckle me? I can't hear you. Is there anybody here? This could all just be a strange delusion I'm having. So I've been having a lot of fever dreams because of these juices I've been. So that the hazard test, you're supposed to click when there's, but everything's a fucking hazard. Like a tree could fall on you, a car could roll over. I've seen James Bond. People just explode. Anyway, so juicing, I like it, but I don't think I'm very good at it. I don't know if I should be just having juices all day. Is that what people in America do? Because I think I might be turning into an American. I have started reading a book on codependency. And by the way, just viewers out there, I just want you to know I'm watching the screen in front of me is of the Zoom chat of, well, I'd say the other comics, but they've all actually left. So it's, bless him, the other comics have stayed. Ed has stayed in his podcast studio, and he's giving me a thumbs up like he's an American. And Toby has stayed, but sometimes Toby's face drops a bit, and it's really off-putting. And Ed's clapping now, which makes me think that Ed probably had that problem as well. And I can't get Toby off the main screen. So now this is basically turning into me having a therapist, which I don't mind. Toby's now going like that. I don't mind, because I could do with that. Can you imagine being a therapist at the moment? You would be coaching therapists. Anyway, I've been juicing. I've been Toby. Now, I don't know how to. Is there a way to change who's the main? Oh, gallery view. Oh, that's better. I've changed the gallery view. Now it's better. Oh, Jazz telling me what to do. Fine. The view. Oh, and Sophie's still here. Oh, that's sorry. There are people watching this. What am I doing? Everybody else came on with material. I've just rambled on about a juicer, and I think I should get an espresso machine. I know you don't think I should, looking at my eyes, but I think I should get one, because I think that's like the epitome of like what a 36-year-old gay man who lives at home with his mum and dad, but it's going to move out real soon. He should have one of those, because then you can have proper coffee and you can sort of be aspirational. Where do these aspirations end? You get a coffee machine, you get the Smeg cooker, you get the Smeg fridge, you get the big house, you get the partner, you get a child. Then what do? Just die. So part of me thinks if I don't get the coffee machine, I haven't started that path and I'll never die. I'm immortal. It's worth thinking about. I've been doing yoga as well. I am not very good at it, but I do yoga with Adrienne. These yoga instructors, you watch it for their nice flooring. You watch for the nice flooring, you stay for the nice, kind, meditative thoughts. yoga with Adrienne. How is she so together? She's so calm. She reads my mind. She does like yoga for putting your heart and your head together. And I'm like, how do you know I'm feeling like this? Like, how do you know I'm feeling like this, Adrienne? You're basically a robot for all I know. You're just some avatar that does yoga. But she speaks to my soul. And she's got a lovely yoga mat. She's got a dog that wanders in, lovely plants, nice table, nice view out the back. I'm doing it on the lounge of my mum and dad's floor. I don't know how they've managed to get cigarette filters in their rug. It's disgusting. Also, earlier I tried to do the one where you crouch on the floor and then you lift your legs in the air. Not like that. And you'd think I'd be good at it, but I'm not. And I nearly crashed into a coffee table. And that coffee table, I mean, they've had it since like the 70s when they queued up in the sale at Heels. And they've got these candle holders on there that they never liked. So what's the point of having candle holders? Anyway, I can't speak too loud because they're only the other row. But, and sometimes when I'm having Zoom parties, which, sounds like something Berlusconi would do, isn't it? Like, it's like a Zoom, what's a Zoom party? Like, what were they called? What bunga bunga parties? It's like a Zuma party. And now we have Zoom parties, but mum and dad get annoyed. They close the door. They don't get annoyed. They don't get annoyed. Like the ironing boards in the corner. Mum wouldn't like that. Also, that painting I think is quite nice. Mum had it as a child. We had it in the loft. I thought it was lovely. I said, bring it down. It's kitsch. But then I put it on things like this, and people go, what the fuck is that piece of shit picture behind you? And I'm like, please, it's my mum's girlhood picture. That's the world we live in, isn't it? It's hard. But I'm running out of steam. Am I having a nervous breakdown? Yes. What was I going to tell you about? Oh, yoga. So I do the yoga. I feel great about myself. Sometimes I overextend myself. Not literally. That would be a good thing, though. And then I've started running, and I do things with kettlebells I never thought I'd do. I do boxing over FaceTime, which doesn't make sense because it sounds like I'm just punching the computer. Obviously, I'm not doing that. People love to make that joke. Oh, you punch the computer, then you have to follow the plot. People are trying to be so funny all the time. Like my next door neighbors who I love, but sometimes I don't put shoes on around the house. And then if I walk out, then I won't put shoes on because I'm just walking onto the front. And I don't mind having cold feet. Like there's a program about it, but I don't mind. I don't mind having cold feet. And then but the next door neighbors are like, no, can't you afford any shoes? Can't you? Yeah. And then it happens again. Oh, still no shoes on. I'm like, look, it wasn't that funny originally, and it's my choice. And sometimes I don't want to wear shoes. Why is everything like a subject of like, no, get have a piece of toast at 11 o'clock, are you? Oh, I bet. What's this? Oh, I don't know. Quarantine. Nothing. Quarantine. Nothing. Stop making stupid jokes. Nobody wants it. I'm reading a book on codependency, which is really helping my head. Also, I bought a new mattress before the lockdown, whatever you want to call it. And Joe Sutherland's still here. I thought he'd gone. Sorry, I just got a message on my screen. I feel like we're having like the worst. I'm having a Zoom conversation with how many people are there? Like 4,000 people or something. Is that, or did I just see that? That's overall. That's an aggregate. There's like 2 people there. They probably all left. I would have left. I've left. To be honest, I've left. I checked out ages ago. At least Toby's laughing. I'm just grateful Toby's laughing. So, what was I saying? I bought a new mattress. My friend Gabby said to me, "You've got to invest in a new mattress. Invest. It'll make bedtime into fun time." And I'm a single man. I live with my mum and dad. Bedtime is not generally fun time. Bedtime is usually just try and stop crying long enough so you can close your eyes. And I'm joking. It's not as bad as that. I have toast at 11 o'clock in the morning. And so I bought this mattress, but I had to go to John Lewis. Yeah, sorry, Manchester. We've got a John Lewis in London. Sorry. So what can I didn't make the rules. I don't make the rules. Where's your nearest? You've got to go to the out of town shopping centre, haven't you? I think to go to John Lewis. Yeah, haven't even got a fucking House of Fraser, have you? I'm sorry. Like my mum used to work in the House of Fraser. I mean, I love Manchester. I want to live in Manchester. I am turning into one of those American people who just talks all the time. So the thing is, I went into John Lewis. There's hardly anyone there because we were getting ready for the SmackDown at this point, but no one was, no one knew what they were supposed to do. So I was there. So I went in, and this woman who had sparkly shoes on, and I thought she'll be fun. She starts showing me around. Now everyone had said to me, "Get a hard mattress. You need a hard mattress that's supportive." So I was like, "I've heard about these hard mattresses." Like, no, you need a soft mattress. Lie on this hard mattress right now. I've never been spoken to by a woman like that. Lie on this mattress. And then she said, you need to support your back. Your back isn't supported. And without further ado, she took the small of her arms and she thrust it under the small of my back, right? I mean, and then she said, look, and your pelvis isn't supported. And then she starts getting my pelvis and like thrusting that up into the air in the middle of John Lewis. I don't even know if she worked there. And then she was like, she had no time for that memory. No, thank you for the memories. She took me over there. She went, lie down on that. What do you think of that? Again, the arm comes out. I've got arms in places. I've never had arms. And then she's like, see, what do you think of that? And I said, well, it's nice. She said, but you're sinking, aren't you? And she said, try and turn over. Memory mattress could not turn over. Couldn't remember. That's the problem. So she said, you don't like that. Then she got me on another one. She said, try this. It's a vice spring. I'm like, oh, this is lovely. This is great. She said, yeah, this is probably more you. This is what you need. How much do you think that was? $5,000 for a mattress? $5,000? And that wasn't the most expensive one, because John Lewis make other ones that are 15 grand. You can hear me. You don't need me to do facial. 15 grand for a mattress. You're just going to sleep on it. Do you know what I mean? But then I was always told, always invest in good shoes and a good bed, because if you're not in one, then the other. So, what's the time? Oh, I've talked for too long. This has been so awful. I'm sorry. Look, it's been good for me. I don't know if it's been good for you. I'm just a person trying to exist in the world. I'm reading a book on codependency. I'm learning a lot about myself. I'm learning how to value myself. I've got to learn I am an appropriate person. I'm allowed to speak. And my opinion, my feelings are valid. And that's basically what I brought to you. I'm so sorry. Like, we're all going through such a lot. But do read a book on codependency. And maybe buy some new lamps. That's a good idea. Anyway, that's the end. Bye. Toby. I can't. Yes.
You must forgive me. The serious look on my face was because I'm sort of running the bits and bobs behind the scenes. It's like I'm reading. So when I get serious, if you said something, I think, oh, because I've got to ask you questions now. I go, oh, I'll ask him a question about that. So that's serious. So it's a bit like if I'm reading the news, I go, and now we've got an amusing story about a cat, and somebody shouting in my ear, the Queen's just died. So
I see.
That's what was. Yeah. So apologies for being off. But anyway, hello.
Hello, lovely to see you.
I last saw
nice to see you.
At the station.
Oh yes, I forgot about that.
You were off somewhere, and I was coming in somewhere. And
I wonder where we were going.
Well, I was probably going to the 99 Club or Broadcasting House. I think 99.
Oh, probably.
So how are you doing?
Well, I'm okay. I mean, I talk a lot, don't I? I'm a bit cooped up, I think. But I'm getting, I'm coming through the other side of feeling. I think last week I found difficult. I don't know if anybody else found it difficult, but I found that quite tough. But this week I feel a little bit more serene. So I think, but I say that openly, which is not, at a comedy club, you're not going to be like, how are you feeling? A little bit down.
No, it's all
Tears
right.
of a clown. But actually, I'm feeling a lot better today. Sorry.
Good. And it seems it's terrible because one doesn't normally get to see oneself when one is watching another comic. And
I know.
It
It's
really
so weird.
does look like somebody has been at home and said, can you go to the Tom Allen shop and buy me a Tom Allen? Somebody's gone, we don't need to go to the Tom Allen shop. There's one down the road that sells those knockoff ones that are 50 quid less and has come back with me. I look like a sort of slightly cheap version of you. Anyway. Tom,
Yes,
what nobody has your speech patterns. You have this glorious way of talking that is mesmerising on stage. And I think I started gigging with you when you were already pretty established and on your way to doing what we see you do now to sort of wider audiences and brilliantly so. But when you started, did you always speak in your voice, or did it take you a while? Did you try and hide that because of raucous clubs and things like that?
That's such an interesting question, and I'm so moved to hear wonderful Joe. Isn't Joe Sutherland brilliant? To hear him talk about that, and I had very similar experiences, and I think it's very interesting. And I sort of feel sad because I thought, I dare say I'm a little bit older than Joe, but I thought I was the last wave to experience some of those things, and I certainly felt like and I still feel it. I still carry it with me, the sense of I have to explain myself, and I sometimes get criticised on some television things by like people on Twitter who go like, "Oh, why does he have to talk about being gay all the time? I don't talk about being." And I think it's because it's a legacy of those days in the clubs when I would. Like, I started off doing some competitions that were very positive towards me, and I did a very, I was kind of a bit more like I am now, really, and I was sort of I was allowing myself to be kind of an eccentric storyteller who had an outside view on the world, and then what happened? I did clubs that were really a bit like Joe describes, were like very abrasive and were not there for that. They did not want to have a slightly camp man who seemed to have lots of layers going on. Sounded posh, but is he posh? I don't know. They were not interested in that, and so I found myself learning ways to at least get people across the threshold so they were on board with who I was or what my sort of stance was. But as I've done it more, and I think as you get older and you feel more comfortable in your skin, people go. And my dad has always said this: the world takes you at your own valuation. So I think that has been a factor. So I've in answer to your question, I think I've gone through waves, but I think in the last 3 years I've found myself going back to my truer self. I think, and feeling more. I suppose it's just about feeling comfortable and on stage and in yourself. They are both the same thing.
But you sort of alluded to it there with saying about feedback on Twitter and things like that. As you get more sort of exposure, which is of course what is helpful to us all in terms of being able to earn a living and do the things that we want to do, you then are open to unsolicited opinions. I think I'm terribly thin-skinned, so I'm not a great engager with. I only put sort of trivia out there. So how do you deal with that, and is it a necessary evil? How do you respond to that sort of unsolicited unpleasantness when you're just trying to go out there and entertain people? And do you get much of it?
I get much of what? You know what? And I found even less so during these difficult times. People have been very positive, but I think I found it at the beginning, and I think that was quite damaging. But I had to work through that, and I am proud of myself. I guess I'm not very good at saying that, but I am proud of myself for weathering that storm of people just don't like somebody new. And I think I when I first started doing things, we were like, "What's this? I shit, I hate his voice, I hate that." Like, and of course, if you you know, and not to get heavy, we're all having a nice time on a Tuesday night. Tuesday, Monday, I don't know. Tuesday, great. Further into it. It's almost time for the 3-week review. The 3-week review is my new cabaret show, by the way. But I think if that's why I've been reading this book on codependencies. I think I've carried a lot of things, and I think if you in any way feel outside, or you're a queer person, or you identify as LGBTQ plus, I don't want to do jokes. I think it's so funny. But you can easily find yourself going, "Oh, actually, I'm not the same as everybody here. I'm not." And I'm not okay. If you grew up with those kind of messages around you, which I think at times I did, and then you get message on Twitter, then it's like, I knew it. But I guess that's any bullying, isn't it? But bullying always taps into those insecurities. So for me, I knew I was just going to I just had to keep going, and I think that's all of us do, really, isn't it? And you have tough gigs and you keep going, but that's what being a stand-up is, really. And I think I certainly felt that with doing those rougher gigs. I was like, I want to be able to do these gigs, so I just keep doing them, and you just sort of learn to relax, I suppose, on stage, and you kind of, I suppose, learn to go, actually, those people don't matter. That if they're horrible, they don't matter. Because I think that's about, as I say, codependency. I think is a lot to do with that. Going, am I okay? You will validate me, and I'm like a codependency ambassador.
I love it.
Read one book. I haven't even finished the Poxy book.
And you've been having a great time of it. You did Just a Minute.
I haven't done it for a while, but I've done it. Yeah.
Did you? That made me so. I mean, I largely disapprove of anything that has happened since 1979. So even if it's people I know and love on Just a Minute, there's part of me that goes, "Oh, but I remember Derek Nimmo and Willie Rushton and all." And when I heard you on Just a Minute, I have to say, I just thought all is right with the world. If there's anybody I want to hear on Just a Minute, it's Tom. Because I think you are perfect for it. So I'm glad I didn't dream that, because I sometimes dream good things.
Toby, that's such a nice thing to say.
How was that doing that? That must have been.
Well, I mean, I grew up, loving. I mean, so many people have been on it that I love, and notably Kenneth Williams and and Victoria Wood actually as well, and it felt like such a grown-up thing, so I couldn't really believe it. Like, I've been very fortunate, and I have to. It's quite nice to be during this time. Notice things to be thankful for, and I feel very thankful that I've got to do some things in the last few years that I've always wanted to do. And sometimes they come along and they're like, "Oh, that's now, is it? Okay, fine." But I have to take a moment sometimes to go, I'm very, very lucky. And it was doing Just a Minute was kind of, I mean, it's as radio programs go, there aren't many that come up to that kind of history and that kind of tradition. So I felt very honoured to do that. And I sat next to Giles Brandreth, who was so nice, so lovely.
Oh, he does a wonderful podcast with Susie Dent called Something Rhymes with Purple, which is where they just talk about words. And it's a glorious thing to do the garden with.
I didn't know that. I didn't know they did that. But it was wonderful, and wonderful to meet Nicholas as well. So I felt very honoured because, of course, he'd been there the whole time, seen everything.
Yeah.
So I felt very, very honoured.
Oh, well, look, Tom, where can the listeners and viewers find you online during this lockdown?
When I'm doing some stupid videos every day, like the Elaine Page one I did. I'm Locked In with Tom Allen. People are welcome to have a look at that. That I try and do a video every day. It's like a magazine show that I'm spoofing, and I have no co-host, so I've had to create a co-host out of a balloon. So, I mean, that sounds like the actions of a normal person. So that's what I'm doing. What are you doing with your lives? So doing that, and then I'm doing my podcast with Susie Ruffle, Like-Minded Friends. We're very proud of that, and that's it's nice to be back doing that, and it's great. Susie and I love working together, so it's been really fun doing that. But this has been so nice. Toby, thank you so much for inviting me to come along and do this, and it's been such a nice group of people to gig with Sophie as well, who I don't think we've gigged before. Have we? No. I'm looking at such a treat. Like, everybody's been so amazing. So thank you for having me and for keeping wonderful comedy going.
Well, thank you for doing it, because we couldn't carry on doing the club without comedians prepared to come on and do this rather odd thing that we've done. And we're hugely blown away by the quality.
Ed just yawned.
I did. I'm so tired. I'm so tired. This is the latest night I've had all lockdown, and honestly, I've had a lovely time. But normally at a gig, I can sneak off while the last person's on.
Yeah. Well, we're all going to. I think we're all back on now for the sort of validation.
The curtain call.
Yeah, for the curtain call. Joe is now in a vision in vermilion. I don't know.
That's a lovely word.
The colour might change, but you've changed out of your toweling, and you're looking splendid and technicolor.
Thank you so much. I just wanted to give you, like a glimpse behind the curtain. That's it.
We like it very much. Well, look, guys, thank you so much for joining us. Ladies and gentlemen out there, remember that the comics have performed tonight, and they're only going to get what you give. So if you could do the PayPal thing and all that sort of thing, that would be very nice, because unlike Victoria Beckham's staff, the taxpayer won't be bailing us out over the next few months. So, ladies and gentlemen, Alison Spittle is probably now 3/4 of the way through Space Jam, but everybody else is here. So thank you to Tom Allen, to Sophie Galpin, to Ed Gamble, and to Joe Sutherland. This has been Excess Malarkey Online. See us for Excess Malarchive on Sunday. We're back with more brilliant acts on Tuesday. We really appreciate all the acts performing tonight. Thank you, guys. Lovely to see you. My name's Toby. Thank you very much, and good night.